So we'll call the meeting of the Rutland Town Select Board to order. This is our regular meeting. Well, okay, let's rise and pledge.
Yeah, here we are. We just got it.
I know.
It's like baseball.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty. We have a mostly all here select board tonight. Joe DiNardo, Mary Ashcroft, Matt Getty, and Sharon Russell. And we have a few folks on the Zoom call, and we have a few folks in here. Let's start through the top part of the agenda. We have minutes for the January 28th Select Board meeting. In your packet, is there any motion?
Move to approve as.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes as printed. Any discussion?
I have one comment. Bottom of page 3.
Yep.
So the sentence reads, there's a large amount of town people who fall under the definition of official. I'm thinking maybe that sentence should be filled out with who need to receive training. I think maybe that was the gist of that
Okay.
discussion.
We'll add who need to receive training. Okay. Anything everybody good with that? Anything else? If not, motion's made and seconded. All in favor of approving the minutes as adopted, as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, here we go. All right, do we have any board member announcements?
I have one.
Okay,
And I want to thank Bill for coming in on Friday morning and Bale and Dave and I and Kari out when the computer didn't want to do what it was supposed to do. He was supposed to be gone, but he came in and got us up and running, and hopefully you made where you had to go in time. And thanks a lot, Bill, for doing it.
good, thanks, Bill. Any other board member announcements? I have one piece of I have two pieces of correspondence. One comes under what I mentioned earlier. The other is Tina Kasheva, Rutland Town School Board, wrote to me and said, the school board was wondering if there was any way we could go first on Monday night. This is for the town meeting, the night before town voting. As you may have heard, we are showing an adjusted tax rate decrease this year and do not believe there will be much discussion needed. Plus, for those that plan to attend for your portion, it would be good for them to hear from us. We had only 3 people stay for part of the pre-town meeting. I fear we may have the same or less if we follow the select board's presentation.
What are they offering?
Be brief, I think.
My reaction was we alternate,
Yeah.
we alternate for this very reason. So no group.
So I think we should stick to that.
I'm okay with that. And frankly, last year when we waited for them, we were the ones with the smaller budget so this happens. What do you want to do?
I make a motion that we stay as is. It's always worked.
The alternating.
Yep.
And this is
Yep.
the year the select board goes first. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's made and seconded. Discussion. I'll phrase it nicely, but
Yeah, I mean,
this seems to have worked. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
I,
Aye. Motion carries. So we're going to stick with our schedule. All right. Okay, that is what I have. Are there questions from the floor, public comments, folks who are not otherwise on our agenda? No? Okay. Town of Mendon, yeah, okay. So we will then go to Megan Smith and Fred Bagley, Town of Mendon.
Thank you.
Yeah, I let you get settled in first, but could you please come up here and have a seat?
Absolutely.
Okay, these folks are from the Town of Mendon Select Board, our colleagues. And I will say that I had Bill dig out the minutes from the meeting when Town of Mendon was previously in to talk about.
Yes, and we were not aware of that,
You
so,
have to refresh our memory on that one.
yeah.
Okay,
that was my predecessor, I
Yes.
believe.
yeah, it was. We
So,
were waiting for the results of a scoping study. And here it is. This is November 21st, 2023. Larry Corcell came, as did Valerie Taylor, and it was about speed limits, and we share the same stretch of road that you had concerns about. They're asking for help from the town to coordinate efforts in reducing posted speed limits from the town line at Home Depot through Mendon to the Killington town line. There have been a number of fatalities on the Mendon section of US Route 4. Mendon has a scoping study currently being done, and the board, that would be us, ask them to follow up once it is complete, so coordination can be discussed with the data available. So that's what we had.
well, that's great to know because we weren't aware of that. But so I'm Megan Smith. I'm chair of the Mendon Select Board. This is Fred Bagley, who chairs our Route 4
Study committee.
study. Great. So we had Mendon on the Move, which was our Vermont Council of Rural Development study on our town. And one of the committees was a safety committee about Route 4. So Fred is just going to share with you what we've learned through the scoping study and what we're looking to do in the future.
So the town of Mendon got a grant from the state, from V-Trans to do this scoping study. It was completed last summer. We've been trying to implement various parts of it. A lot of it has to do with pedestrian safety, crosswalks, improving safety up at the Appalachian Trail crossing, issues like that are not speed limit directed per se. But a big component of the engineering study done was traffic calming, especially in our village district. And traffic calming can be speed reduction, but it can be also things by the engineers report, like restriping and changing merging lanes and changing how many access points there are. All these things can help to calm traffic. And for those of you who've driven Route 4 from New York to Vermont, with the exception of the 4-lane out here, 4A, if you drive from 4A into your town and then all the way to New Hampshire, there's only one village in that entire length across the state where the speed limit is 45 within a designated village center, and that happens to be us. So we are trying to develop the case to V-Trans that our speed limit, as part of this overall pedestrian traffic calming process, that our speed limit should be reduced to 40. We have 6 miles of Route 4 going up towards the mountain. A big chunk of it, of course, is very rural once you make that turn past our little downtown. But within our downtown district, we hope to convince V-Trans to reduce it to 40. We have 10 commercial businesses in a very short stretch of road. We have traffic crash data from the state showing this little highlighted area here. That's our little downtown, and all those little black dots are, you can see in the entire 6-mile stretch of Route 4 that there's an awful lot of black dots right there in this 10-year study of crash data from V-Trans. But it would enhance our application to V-Trans to reduce speeds from 45 to 40 in our village district if we could coordinate with Rutland Town to have them, you can all consider joining the application to reduce it from 45 to 40 in the 1.25 miles from essentially Home Depot up to Town Line Road. I don't pretend to know, and Chief Dumas, I'm sure, is a better source than I as to how much you all worry about speeding in your 1.25 miles of Route 4 leading up to or down from our town. But Here is somewhat comparable crash data. Here's the V-Trans crash data for your 1.25 miles of Route 4. All too well there. And I can't pretend to explain all these little dots. You'll see in the down at the bottom that the red dots are where there's an injury in this 10-year period. The others were property damage. I assume that means vehicles only. And I can't pretend to tell you in all of these incidents whether speed per se was an issue, but I'm guessing
Right at the top of the list.
based on our town that it played a role along with distracted driving, et cetera, et cetera. So
This is for a 10-year period?
yes, this is
Okay.
from 15 to 25. I
Oh, there it
assume,
is.
and this,
Okay.
yeah, this is data that was pulled together for at our request by the traffic consultant at Regional Planning. So it's, I don't know if it's through January of 25 or yesterday, but so there are 43 dots in your 1.25 miles of Route 4. In our 6 miles of Route 4, because you get beyond the congested parts, we have something like 60 dots in our 6 miles. So the whole 1.25 miles stretch in Rutland town leading to roughly 1.25 miles of Mendon before it becomes rural going up the mountain is obviously a pretty high crash data scene. And so we are initiating, the select board has to do it, but we're initiating the process with the help of the RRPC traffic consultant of making the application to V-Trans to reduce the speed from 45 to 40. In addition to the safety aspects, and again, I can't pretend to, and I won't pretend to dissect each of these dots along the way here. But in addition to whatever role speed played in the crashes, our merchants in our stretch of Route 4 in our little downtown are convinced that it would enhance their commercial access, viability, safety of their employees, the public coming by and noticing they actually have time to stop and make a turn into this business or that business if it were a slower speed. So it's a heavy lift. It's a federal highway. V-Trans is not going to, and V-Trans has lots of responsibilities, one of which is to get people from here to there expeditiously. And we think that taking an extra 24 seconds to drive through our part of Route 4 is worth it if we can get down to 40 miles an hour. So we would just we'd hope to invite you or a member or appoint a group or whatever to work with us to, if possible, file a joint application. We're going to proceed with an application regardless, but we invite your participation.
Questions?
So you're looking to just change the speed limit from the Rutland Town Mendon line up past Sugar and Spice roughly. And then the rest of the way up the mountain, it'll still be the 50.
Yeah,
It's just that section in that, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't turn to 50
it
till
turns-
after.
turns to 50 right where
Right where the road goes to 2 lanes up the hill.
yes,
Yeah,
where we
yeah.
have a little, what we call Medway Road across the bridge there. That's where it turns 50. In your town, it goes from 35 at,
Home
Yeah.
Depot.
Mm,
From 35 up to about
it's
Home
about
Depot.
200 yards uphill actually is
Yeah.
where the first 45-mile-an-hour sign is.
So the 50-mile-an-hour zone would still be in the same place, or are you gonna lower that as well?
The state has indicated very clearly they have no interest in reducing the 50-mile zone. But further up the hill, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have no interest in
That's
doing
right
it.
Even
about
though
the
we've
spot
had-
where it goes to
To
2
me, that's
northeast.
where it gets more dangerous.
that's
is
where
when
we've
people are
had
trying to turn.
Fatalities.
Our engine, yeah, we had 6 fatalities in the summer of 23, but knock on wood, none in 24, knock on wood, 25 stays the same. Our traffic consultants from the private engineering firm that did the study, the scoping study for the state, have lots of other suggestions about merging climbing lanes, narrowing the travel lanes, narrowing the shoulder, make it seem like it should be a slower road and not a freeway going up there. I will just highlight one other issue when you drive through your stretch of Route 4 and then into our stretch of Route 4 coming uphill. There's a merge lane right before Town Line Road roughly. And in that circumstance, the passing cars are required to merge with the slower right-hand lane after Town Line Road at the Whoosy Watts Pit, Casella Pit. There's another uphill travel lane, but the merge lane on that end is just the opposite.
Yeah.
The slower cars are required to merge with the passing cars, which and we don't know which one is better. We think it's highly confusing to the traveling public to have different ways of merging in such a short distance. And our merchants on that little stretch of our stretch of Route 4 see cars in the pass lane having to speed up to join the traffic in the passing lane, therefore increasing the speed and the
I almost
Confusion.
wonder in that little section there from Casella's pit up. Well, they do it for slower traffic, but it's only that slow grade by the orchard. After that, it's pretty level till you get around the corner. You know,
you're
if you actually had a left-hand turn lane in just one lane like the city did, that would keep everybody more in line.
It gets-
And it would allow, so when somebody wants to make a left turn lane, you're not coming upon somebody stop to turn left, but I don't know if the.
No, you've hit the same point that our engineers pointed out is that the length of the merge lane in our town, we don't have a scoping study for your town.
Mhm.
The length of the merge lane in our town is longer than the federal highway standards require by about 100 yards. So the engineers who did our scoping study are hoping to convince the state that when they repave and restripe that stretch of Route 4, that they will shorten the length of the merge lanes. That would slow traffic because you don't have as far to speed up to get in front of somebody. You have to slow down to do it. Well, we're also hoping we can convince them, whichever one is right, your version where these guys have to merge, or our version where these guys have to merge. We're just hoping the state will make it the same in both.
Right, so, you know, like in Rutland town, we have that issue at Home Depot.
Mhm.
That used to be 2 lanes all the way eastbound. And I don't know how many years ago, the state changed that intersection so that it became
Left turn
one lane there for about 100 yards.
Yeah.
And you go through the intersection and it goes back to 2. So the impatient drivers get into that left lane and then they just.
And
fire it
we
up.
have folks, because I do it, traveling up there to turn to go to Northwood.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a bad turn.
Yeah.
And then just
Right,
beyond that
'Cause You're
is.
you're making a left turn in the
medical-
passing lane.
Medical complex up
Right,
there
right,
that
yeah.
we travel to a lot, and you also have to make a turn across traffic. So I,
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
So we
and-
just, I guess
Matt's
we're
got some-
hoping that we can get someone, maybe just one person designated from your town to work with our committee
okay.
as we move forward with this. But, you know, just speaking also of that road, with the high traffic going up to Mountaintop now, with that's so busy now that coming out there, that's another real with Sugar and Spice and the miniature golf. And
There's a lot going on.
It's ugly.
And unfortunately, for a center turning lane, once you get into the area where our little coffee shop is, Apollo's Coffee, and
Mhm.
across from that, where the state right of way is literally on the building's front doorstep.
Yeah.
So there's no room for turning lanes there, but we think the state can help us make progress if they would shorten the merge lane that automatically. And also the travel lanes, if we've had one of our members, walk it with a tape measure literally, and the travel lane varies from 14 to 11 feet as it wanders through our town. The town is, Route 4 is currently on the state paving schedule to be repaved in 2029 through our town. I assume that includes your stretch, which means the engineering and all that sort of stuff would be done in 2028. If the current state paving schedule stays the same, but we're currently on their docket for 4 summers from now.
Dave, do we know? Okay.
And so that we're trying to get our merchants and our ducks in a row. So when they get around to re-engineering, and when they restripe it next summer, they'll just put the stripes where the current stripes are.
Mhm.
But if we want them to do a major restriping, which requires engineering and surveys, we have to get on their docket well in advance. So by 2028, they do all those studies. So when they do it in 29, maybe it'll be different. So anyway, we
We
just
did
invite your
cooperate with the
participation.
city of Rutland when we tried to get the speed limit reduced from 45 to 40 on South Main Street. And we approached the state transportation folks, and we did a joint effort, but they weren't buying it. So I know it's going to be a haul. But I personally think it's a good idea.
So do I. You ever
Okay.
try getting out of Greenbrier?
Yeah.
That's scary as heck.
about
Yeah.
everything really on that road.
It is
That
because
on,
there's just,
7 North too.
I live right behind
Yes, you
Sugar and
did.
Spice,
And,
so I have
and
to
the
pull
one
out on
thing
there.
that we didn't do
Yeah.
that Mendon did, we didn't do the traffic study.
The traffic study.
So we had no data to go to the state and say, this is why we want to reduce traffic speeds coming into Rutland town.
This is a
that-
start.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
leaving that way, but we tried to do this on Route 7
Mhm.
and what Mary
North,
just said is.
as well as
both
south.
And they just turned us down, but we didn't have any, we were just requesting this because the city was seeing traffic coming down Route 7. You know, the speed limit is posted at 50. The rule of thumb is everybody drives 10 miles an hour. So you got traffic entering Rutland town at 60 miles an hour. They're supposed to drop to 40, but they drop to maybe 50. You get up by Noble Hardware and it's supposed to be 35, but we're still doing 45 or 50. And we didn't have anything to back that up, so we didn't get anywhere. Now we're seeing the reverse problem since they redid Route 7. People, the frustrated ones that are leaving the city headed north are our town constable that's out there. He said he could stay all day at Post Road, McKinley Avenue, just one right after another. Nobody, you know, they're just flying up through there. So
We think we'll,
I
we
think
think
with
it's-
the traffic study, you guys are one step ahead of what we tried to do because you got something to back up what you're
No.
trying to ask for.
we didn't do a speed study as part of our engineering scoping study, but as part of the application process, a speed study will be done, hopefully paid for by the state, not
Right.
by us.
It's interesting that
Let me go to Matt because he was,
I'm just curious if the chief has any thoughts on any of this.
I think what Joe's saying is, it's true, it wouldn't hurt to hold the speed limit to 40 miles an hour, I don't believe that big of a deal. 24 seconds, that's.
and you know, they're not gonna drive the speed limit. If they were driving 45, you wouldn't have the problems you got now.
well, we got 40 miles over to West Rutland, 40 miles an hour and
Yeah,
there
so
you go. So it sounds like we have enough folks who want to move forward. Matt, you okay with that? Do we want to do a vote to send a delegate to work with the town of Mendon to reduce the speed?
yeah, I nominate Joey. He seems to have it
Okay,
better.
motion's been made to nominate Joe
Bill
DiNardo to
seconds
work
that
with-
motion.
on behalf of the select board
Yeah,
to
good,
work
Bill.
with the town of Mendon.
so I
to
want to tell you,
reduce the-
Sharon, I was gonna,
Are you gonna second the motion?
no, I was gonna ask you to do it.
Good. Is
One
there a
way, one way or
second?
the other.
I'll second.
Motion's
So-
made and seconded. Debate.
Oh, no, my only point is, would this position be whether I'm a board member or not?
And I'm not a board.
He's not
member.
a board
I'm not a
member.
board
Okay.
member. I'm
Okay.
appointed.
I mean, if I don't get reelected on March 4th,
Oh,
I will still do this.
okay.
Okay,
All
great.
right,
Yeah,
great.
because
See,
Fred's
that's
not,
why I
Fred's not a
nominated him,
select
'cause I
board
knew
member.
you'd be good, Joe.
Good, yes.
I
Okay.
can't complain about speed limits on Grove Street and the way people drive and not try to do something to
else.
help you
Right,
guys
right.
out. I just
Motion's
couldn't
What
been
do it.
made and
scares me is
seconded.
watching people walk in the fall and the cars are just
I
zipping.
know, they're bad.
So are we voting to join with Mendon or are we voting to,
We're voting to send you to work with Mendon to
so
come
that
up
means
with
but
a
we,
joint
yeah.
venture to reduce the
Right.
speed limit on
all right.
Route 4 from 45 to 40.
Yep.
That's
Okay.
the whole motion. Didn't you hear that, Bill? Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Mr. Dunbar, do you have a card or something? I can get your contact or I can get it.
You get it all from Bill.
Yeah. We'll do it.
Okay,
Thank you very
Thank
much.
very much.
Well, thank you.
Yes. Thanks for coming down. Drive safely.
We literally, we were on, right in front of, was it Wendy's? And this guy walked in front of us almost, I mean,
Yeah, going from right across from Grand
Grand
Union to Wendy's and dark jacket,
literally-
dark pants.
So you
Yeah.
do realize,
close to hitting him.
so am I not right, Eddie? That they're trying to get hit? That's my opinion. People crossing the road are trying to get hit. They're looking for a lawsuit and a free ride. Because anybody that values your life, you wear something reflective or you don't cross 6 lanes of traffic at night in the dark.
Thought it would be highly ironic to not make this meeting because I was
Yeah,
Log on the traffic.
yeah, that wouldn't be good there, yeah. Thank you,
very much
folks.
for your
We'll stay in
Bob.
touch.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, let's go to, so that was A, action item. It's probably time to do our local hazard mitigation plan. Are we waiting for Marty?
I don't think
I don't
so.
think so.
Okay, so come on up.
And I know that.
This is
Ethan, our
Stephanie Burke,
Yeah,
Regional
Ethan, our
Commission.
transportation planner, will be really happy to hear that you guys have
Yeah, good.
interest in coordinating on
We've
that.
got a number of
Yeah.
businesses along that same stretch and it's crazy.
It's wonderful. It's really good to see that, you know, work progressing beyond the scoping effort. So
Yeah.
it's really nice to see. So.
So you'll help us get
switching
some
gears.
money for a scoping study for our piece?
So, well, part of what we were talking about with the sidewalk
Yeah,
is changing the configuration of Route 4 or Route 7
Yeah.
from Max Steel
Yep.
to McKinley Avenue.
Yep.
And trying to extend the left turn lane to that point and allow that because the bike path, the shared use path ends at Comcast.
yes.
And there's a section there that the bikes are in no man's land. So if we could get the same configuration, that bike path would start earlier.
I think there's a lot of opportunity for you guys to be looking to harmonize at all of the intersection points with your neighbors, you know, as projects are moving forward.
Yes.
So yes, absolutely. Speak with Ethan Pepin, our
Okay.
transportation planner. And just to be clear, the scoping effort that was done by Mendon was a bike ped scoping
Okay.
effort. So it was
Okay.
looking at trying to make that Route 4 corridor more accessible for all users.
Okay.
It wasn't really, it wasn't a traffic study. It was really looking at how to improve bike ped safety on that corridor. And obviously, vehicle speed is a major concern and
Okay.
conflict with that. So switching hats.
Switching, here we go.
I was here 2 weeks ago on behalf of your local planning team to present the final draft of Rutland Town's local hazard mitigation plan. And that kicked off the 2-week comment period for folks to react to the plan in its entirety. We did receive some review comments from Matt, so I thank you for
Am I
taking.
the only one?
Yes.
In the whole town?
Yes. But I thank you and want to recognize you for taking the time to read it and provide some thoughtful comments back. And we can discuss them if you'd like. You know, I think that there's a little bit of context that I'd like for you to know
Sure.
in terms of, you know, why things are presented the way they are, and then we can discuss whether they need to be edited.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I have 3.
Okay?
Okay, and if anybody else does, let's start with comments first. So my first is on page 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on the left-hand side, 2/3 of the way down, where it speaks to law enforcement. We actually have 5 officers and 2 constables. We have chief, deputy, school resource officers, Jimmy and Jared.
Perfect. I'll make
Right.
that correction.
That's one. That was
Yep.
easy.
Yes.
Page 22, this is the one that, this may be the place or it may not, but it should be in here somewhere. And this is Joe's idea. And that's a regional dispatch center for the county, because you can, and again, I'm not sure where it goes, but if you want to pull together fire police, do intermunicipal response to hazards, a regional dispatch center is something that is on the radar for a number of us, I think.
So starting on page 22 is really where we're laying out your community's capabilities
Mhm.
in 4 different categories to accomplish hazard mitigation to natural hazards.
Yeah, and I'm not
So-
saying this is the best place, but I think what we're missing is some kind of a regional coordinated effort with a dispatch center.
So traditionally,
Uh-huh.
that is a really bright, like a response lane.
Okay,
type of project, as opposed to a mitigation lane project. But let me give some thought to how we might be able to creatively weave that in.
Okay,
And maybe, Mary, it lands at the end of the plans, chapter 6, where we talk about integrating into existing plans or procedures, or indicating how the concepts from this plan would be integrated into other priorities.
okay,
So
that's fine. I just didn't want
Okay.
the idea to pass by.
you're gonna have to give me a second to just
Sure.
make a note here. And I'd probably circle up with our emergency management planner to talk about what is the current state of that. I knew that it was kind of in shambles when I transitioned out of emergency management planning, so it's been a
It
couple
came
years.
up at the regional select board meeting
Yeah,
a couple of weeks ago.
it's been
Yeah.
out there for quite a few years now. I just don't know what the current vibe is. Okay.
Check with Devin, because he said he was going to look
Yeah.
and see where things stood.
Yeah,
So,
okay,
Okay,
okay.
all right.
Regional dispatch. And the issue is really seeing that as a need for the region. Okay,
Stephanie, part of this is based on the state downsizing their PSATs to 2.
pretty
And-
familiar with all the backstory because I
Right, so,
was,
so Rutland County really took the initiative about, what, 2 years ago, Ed? To try to come up with a plan to, have a Rutland County dispatch.
well, I think
and
the
it-
commissioner basically said they wanted to divest themselves. The state police department wanted to get rid of that responsibility,
And then,
right?
well, they were well into this, a couple of years worth of work planning.
Mhm.
The state kind of they commissioned folks to look into the problem. And after several months,
Mhm.
those folks said, we don't have the ability to assess this problem, so we can't do the job you gave us.
Mhm.
And then the state kind of took it back, didn't really do it. And then the last I heard is they were talking about opening reestablishing 2 more PSAPs.
Mhm.
Not that they had done anything wrong, but that this might work better. And that was
Okay.
about 1.5 years, 2 years ago,
Mhm.
and there hasn't been a peep since.
Okay, because
It-
that's where I left off,
Right,
was
and-
where the study was being commissioned, and then I don't know whatever happened after the study, and it doesn't sound like there
Yeah,
wasn't
the
much.
studiers
Okay.
couldn't do the study.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, so got it, Mary. Yep.
Okay. And then the only other comment was just a comment, and that is and I mentioned it at the beginning of the meeting, we should annually look at this and see how we're doing toward meeting the things that are either in progress or we need to work on. And I was just trying to think of the best time to do that. Just probably before budgeting season in September or so, October.
Especially if there's something that needs funding.
Yeah.
You know, because you're 9 months away from funding at that point.
Yeah. So just, that's a think piece for all of us.
So page 38 of the plan is the relevant page where we talk about the plan maintenance and annual evaluation and monitoring. And this would, if that is your last comment, Mary, it'd be a good segue
is.
into one of Matt's comments.
Okay, good.
So what we do for you here, and I want to make really clear that this level of specificity is what has been driven by previous plan review comments by Vermont Emergency Management. This used to be a little bit lighter and a little bit looser, and it didn't make the last round of review for the plan I worked on in Castleton. It was, no, like, you got to really beef this up. So this level of detail is a result of prior review comments, but I have not specified in here a time of year for which you will undertake kind of this process. So we can either leave it as flexible or add the level of specificity in terms of when you would like to do this number 1 on this flow chart. where you actually go in and you look at the effectiveness of how you're doing towards accomplishing your actions and
Well, that's-
achieving the goals.
Yeah, that's where my comment was. That I think when you look at the table that's on A2,
Mhm.
Appendix B, that's where, to me, this became more useful, because then all of a sudden there's this
Yeah.
there's this chart you can follow. You can look to see, okay, here's the thing we said we were going to do. Here's who's in charge, and here's the time frame and the status. So it was all kind of mapped out there, which makes it a lot easier to track all of this.
So table A2 that you're looking at from the 2019 plan got replaced with table 6
Where's that?
in the strategy section that starts on page 29. So the action plan in 2019 did not include all of the implement action plan elements that are now required post FEMA updates.
The old one you
Okay.
could read better.
So,
This does nothing for me.
Yeah, I know, it doesn't. Me neither.
I agree.
well, we're kind of
That you can
stuck
do anything
with the
about it.
format at this point. So what this table 7 is intended to do is to kind of give you all of your actions in the left-hand column. And a year after your plan is approved by FEMA, so sometime in 2026, you'd be looking back over the past 12 months or so, and you'd be indicating for each of these actions, kind of where are you at? Is it in progress? Is it complete? Is it nowhere? Has something changed in the 12 months where now all of a sudden there's a redirection happening? Because what I find with the communities that I've worked with is when it gets to the point where you're updating the plan and you have to prepare that appendix A2 where you say, what's the status of the actions from your previous plan? It can be really hard if you haven't been kind of documenting on a at least annual basis, maybe, at least making an attempt to kind of check in and make sure everything is still kind of a priority. Things haven't changed. There's not new information. So, the status kind of in progress or complete is what was expected to be recorded in table 7. So that when you get to updating and you have to explain what's the status, you have a little bit more to work with than just, your local planning team members' recollection over the past 5 years and having to come up with something 5 years later.
Okay,
So back to Mary's comment, do you want on page 38 to include some specificity as to, in number 1, I could say, for example, the select board will evaluate the effectiveness of this plan and meeting the stated goals, at the time where they're developing the budget for the upcoming fiscal year.
and then if we miss that, it will look like we failed to do. So, I'm
Yeah.
torn. It's sort of like, if we try and remember that we need to do it and tell Bill.
I mean,
Yeah.
What do you think? Or do we put it in the plan
I
and,
think it's better if we have a specific time,
okay,
because that
My
way we'll be more
concern
likely
is,
to stay on top of
I
it.
don't know
You'll-
how
you'll be-
everybody else feels here, but that whole packet can be very confusing. And how do we say to our taxpayers, yeah, I don't completely understand it either. So for us to vote, there's really an awful lot of, I don't have mine tonight because my husband's going through it tooth and nail because we have a farm. And we're very concerned about infringement onto telling us what we can do with the land that we've paid taxes on. And I'm sure,
I don't know as if this plan does that. I don't think that this plan does that. I don't think this plan gets into regulating land uses. If you look at the range of actions that have been recommended to implement, I don't see any of those as dictating a land use.
But you're probably referring to the river corridor, right, Sharon?
Right.
Yeah, so they have their property, is bounded by East Creek.
Yep.
So there are river corridor plans out there, but if that's not part,
So let me.
if there's something in here
Yep,
specifically,
yep.
alluding
I hear
to
you.
that.
Hold on just a sec. So page 30. The second mini project profile. What I was told is that river corridor bylaws are in development and that you're targeting adoption by 2027. If that is not accurate from your perspective, we can absolutely change the project description, the action description, to something more like the feasibility of adopting river corridor bylaws will be considered. You know, we can move it from we are currently developing these regulations and are targeting an adoption date to we're not that far. Those decisions have not been made. We are still in the evaluating the appropriateness of this type of tool in our community. And that's your action, is just evaluating. And then it ties into your other comment that we can.
Because it isn't the state, I mean, that's what Barbara's been talking to us
Barbara's been
about,
talking to
whether or
us
not
about
the
that.
state is pushing towns to adopt river corridor policies, bylaws, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm not sure where we were with that. If the planning commission has been kind of doing the research and they were going to get back to us when,
So
I think,
they are.
yeah, I think
And
that's
we
what the plan.
already have a flood hazard area section in our town plan. So this
I
would,
think you actually have flood hazard area bylaws.
yeah, okay.
Yes. Yeah, which would be different
I'm
than your
looking at
town
the
plan.
map, but
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
In which case they kind of,
They're a companion piece.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and that's how the action is currently described in your plan.
I think the accurate description right now would be it's under study specifically by the planning commission. I
Mhm.
think we,
Well, that's the lead party,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. So,
right? That's
yeah, I mean,
clear.
Barbara's talked to us about it a little bit, but we haven't made any decisions about it.
So do you want to, am I hearing you say that you'd be more comfortable backing off on the project timeframe to not include a target adoption date? Because you're not there yet? And you want to rephrase this action to more of a, we're still evaluating.
It's in development by the planning commission
Okay.
and consider for adoption.
Okay,
by-
that would be very
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because by that time, they will have something, they'll have their 2 public hearings, and then we will have it to see if we're going to adopt it or not. But that doesn't lock us into adopting it.
Very
It
much
just
like
says
that.
that's.
Because we've not made any decision and who knows what our board will be by the time. the
Oh,
decision
agreed,
gets to
agreed.
us.
Right.
Does everyone feel comfortable with revising the project timeframe to in development, semicolon, consider for adoption by 2027? Does that feel more comfortable?
I think
Are
so.
you okay with that?
No, I'm not. I'm not gonna lie. I just think there's an awful lot that we have a right, or we owe a lot to our taxpayers. And I'm gonna be quite frank with you. I mean, mine isn't with me tonight because my husband's still
understand that.
studying it.
Mhm.
And so there's a big concern for us owning land along the river corridor.
Sharon,
Let
what
me
would you like me
finish.
to do?
I think you've got an awful lot to have us accept without breaking it down so that if a taxpayer came to us and asked, well, how come this and that? I would say, you got me because I'm totally confused too. So,
Okay, well, I just wanna, parse some of your phrasing here. You say I, it's not I, It's not Stephanie Burke from the Regional Planning Commission.
But you know
who
what I
has-
mean.
No, I do want to clarify that point. I'm here really just to facilitate a process. The content of this plan was driven by your planning team, Dave, Bill, and Marty. Would you concur with that?
Yep.
Okay, so just, I want to just make that minor point of clarification, because I don't want this to be perceived as me pushing something on the town of Rutland. So I hear your concern in terms of maybe not fully being comfortable with the content of the plan, but what I don't know is what you want me to do about that. Do you want me to extend the public comment period? I'm not sure what you want me to do with your concern.
Truthfully, if you broke it down into like 1 or 2 page simplified that could be sent to the taxpayers who would, I mean, if we voted in, we're voting it in the name of our taxpayers.
You're adopting, ultimately, the select board will be responsible for adopting the plan. That is correct.
That doesn't mean at this point, we're adopting the river corridor portion.
That is correct.
We are just adopting the plan. The river corridor thing, Sharon, I think we're going to get stuck
It's
with.
totally different.
It's going to be part of this
Yeah.
plan, but what it's actually going to say, I don't know. And I understand, you own that land and what, I know what the concept of that corridor plan is they don't want people building structures within areas that frequently flood
Yeah.
and then having damage and then looking for FEMA for, that's what the concept of mitigating construction along the corridor
And
is.
I understand that, Joey, but
But
I also understand along that river corridor are many farms that we know
Right.
that have managed that land
Mhm.
for the state and for the people of this state. My husband
But-
is very particular along that waterway.
And I think that part needs to go into what we develop as our bylaws. The fact that we're working on them is all we need to put in here, that we're doing something to try to appease the requirements of the state. What those bylaws are, that's when, that's when we need to have the discussion that you're talking about. But to have it in here, that we're doing something will help us satisfy the requirements of FEMA for this plan. But what we actually say, what those bylaws are worded and how they are, then that will work on what the planning commission comes up. Because I understand, I don't have land along the creek, but I know what you're saying. You put a lot of time and effort into your farm. It's part of your family and you don't want necessarily to be told what you can and can't do with that. And I think a
Exactly.
lot
When
of
When you
landowners,
pay the taxes that we pay,
right.
we'd like to have a say.
Well, then see, so when we actually get into this discussion about the river corridor, I have some ideas that I'd like to share with
Mhm.
the planning commission as to what I think, how that acreage should be looked at and maybe how it's
Yeah.
assessed.
Yeah.
It might need to be assessed differently than other land, because if I can't do what I want with it, then why? So, but that's
Yeah.
another discussion.
Yeah.
But I think in here, we have to say that we're doing something. What we do is when we get together with them and say, this is what I have concerns and how we're going to get around it. Does that satisfy what you're thinking?
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm going to just circle back to page 38.
Okay.
What did you decide on in terms of specifying when the board would be doing their annual evaluation? Are we leaving it as is, or are we
Prior
editing?
to budget, what would be the word? Budget,
Planning?
budget,
Construction for the coming fiscal year.
right,
which is
somewhere
9
in that,
months
that
in
allows us a
advance,
little
so-
leeway. I don't want to say we're going to do it in September because we
Yeah.
might not get to it.
Right, but so do you want me to say the select board will evaluate the effectiveness of the plan and meeting the stated goals as part of its upcoming fiscal year budget development?
Yeah,
That gives us time to, where we can fit it in.
yeah.
Okay, I got that. Okay. So now I want to just circle back to Matt's comment
Mhm.
about related to the river corridor bylaws. So on page 6 of the plan, there is a sentence at the very bottom of the right-hand column that says, in 2019, the adoption of river corridor bylaws was not selected for implementation
Right.
because it lacked political support. So consideration of them now reflects a change in the political climate over the last 5 years. So Matt, I think, was having some concern over the use of the phrase change in the political climate. So the only reason that that term was used is because in the evaluation table on page 27, one of the criteria that you evaluate each of these action against is the political criteria. And that basically the question that you're answering is there overall public support or political will for the action?
Where is that?
Yeah.
So page 28 provides you with the definition of the political criteria. And then on page 20.
Sorry, can you just
Yep.
pause? Where am I looking? On page 20?
3/4 of the way down.
So the table 5 evaluation criteria are explained.
So this gets, okay, this whole thing's okay, it says right in the middle, political, okay. So how does that get evaluated?
So that's what I'm trying to walk you
Yeah.
through. So it's described on page 26. So in the right-hand column, the italicized bold section that says actions without overall public support or political will not be selected for implementation.
Okay.
Actions whose costs are not reasonable compared to the probable benefits are also not selected. Okay, so in 2019's plan, when they ranked the river corridor bylaws against this political criteria, they gave it a -1, meaning there's no political, no public support, no political will at this time for that action. So in this current plan, that went from a -1 to I think a 1. No, I'm sorry, a 0.
Okay.
So it showed an incremental step up to we're saying that, there's not support, but there's not objection. It's kind of a more neutral action from a political will, public support standpoint.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's just.
So I can change that language if you'd
I
like,
don't
but
know.
I'd like you to know, I'd like
Yeah,
for you
no,
to tell me
that's helpful.
what you want it to say.
I guess it's not, doesn't really matter to me.
Okay.
It strikes me, based on your explanation, it sounds like it's something that's required to be in there. It strikes me as an odd thing to have in this sort of plan, but I guess I understand what it's trying to get at, and it's not really material to the overall plan, so. I can
Okay.
live with it.
So
What's
Matt, are you
frankly.
okay with both of your comments not resulting in any edits in the plan? Okay.
What's actually happened on page 6 is that we've had 2 major flooding events in the summers of
Mhm.
23 and 24. It didn't happen to affect our town very much, but it sure did other towns. And, we watch the news and read the newspaper, so.
Would you like me to expand on that as a
don't know.
possible justification? I think that's reflected in section 5, when you look at the flood profiles.
Yeah,
You could say
Yeah.
something like flooding has been a topic of broad public concern in the state or something
Yeah.
like
that's
that. I
true.
would, that
I'm
would certainly
happy
explain
to
it.
provide some expansion on why maybe there's been a change in the political climate, but I need you guys to provide me the language.
I'm not sure that there has, except there's more awareness that flooding events present real problems because of recent floods in other parts of the state.
So all I'm trying to
Yeah.
describe here is the fact in 2019, you said -1 as a
Yeah.
community, and now you're saying 0 as a community. I'm trying to explain why now this action is made the cut. Because if it was a -1, it'd have been cut and not recommended for implementation. So all I was trying to do was just note that the reason that it's in the plan now and wasn't in 2019 is because now there's been an incremental sense that, maybe it is appropriate to start considering this tool today as opposed to 5 years ago. But I'm not committing, you're not committing to anything because the way the action's phrased, right? We changed it to these bylaws would be considered for adoption. They're not committing you to adoption.
All right.
Okay. All right. So, is there any further discussion from the board regarding the draft? Hearing nothing.
What's the next step? I'm looking at the,
That's what I was gonna
next
ask. Are
step,
you
yeah.
ready to move forward? But I didn't want to, like Matt told me to slow down, slow my roll. So I was just trying to be respectful.
this is the end of the
Yep.
public comment period.
Yes.
And you're gonna address some comments if they're appropriate.
So the only I guess what the punchline I'm trying to get to, Mary, is the only edits are those that you just gave me.
Okay.
So in my opinion, those edits do not substantially change the content of this plan,
yeah, no,
right?
right.
So the option on the table is, do you feel comfortable approving this draft with the edits that you've instructed me to make on behalf of the planning team? Are you comfortable with, once those edits are made, approving tonight, submitting the plan to the state for approval pending adoption?
Okay.
Or would you like me to make those changes and then present it back to you at your next board meeting and have you take action to approve submittal for approval pending adoption?
They were pretty minimal,
Yes.
the changes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm ready to vote. But, okay.
I think the topics of discussion have been expressed and,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of, we're not changing really the substance,
No.
just a few ways to get to where we're going.
Great. Is there a motion?
Move to adopt.
Motion's
Nope,
been made
nope,
to
nope, I'm sorry. It's not adopting.
submit the plan to state for approval pending
She said.
adoption.
Okay.
Do that thing.
Yes.
With edits,
With the edits.
as edited.
Is that a second?
That's it.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
One opposed, 3, 1, and 1 not present. Okay. So we're
I think
good to move ahead. Thank you very much.
I think we're good. You're very welcome. So I'll go ahead and make these changes. I'll get the plan submitted ASAP, and I'll of course be copying the planning team on that submittal, so they'll be kept in the loop from this point forward.
So where we at somebody's, their timetable to when we hear back?
Correct. So you remember in your packet before you had this review tool?
Yeah.
They will review your plan against this rubric and give us some feedback. I guarantee you they will not say it's approved on the first go round.
There'll be some changes.
And depending on what they come back with as far as requests for changes, will dictate whether this plan is back before you folks before it's buttoned up. Okay? So
Good. Well,
stay
thank you
tuned.
for all of your work on this, and Bill,
You're welcome.
and Dave. And Marty.
Already have.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from the floor, public comments? Folks who are not otherwise on the agenda? No? Okay. Anyone on this screen? There's no raised hands on the Zoom callers. Okay. Let's move into our agenda. Dave Sears, I almost missed this, Bill. I think the green is too deep.
Green for.
Yeah, a little too green.
It is, I couldn't read it, and if we copied it, you wouldn't be able to see it at all, so. Okay, Dave, you're in green.
I am green.
Yeah,
All right. Start right off with the fun stuff, state forms
yep,
in your green folder.
thank you.
So there's 3 forms in there that need to be signed by the board.
They were also in our packet, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure. But so we can move forward with the class 2 paving grant and the state structures grant.
okay.
A and B.
These are number 4, number 5, and once, yeah, okay. 5 is a 2-pager. So let's start with Town Region.
I found the different numbers in the original folder.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry about that, folks.
So just the 2 things,
Yes.
4A and 4B. Got it.
Okay. Town Ridge and Roads, Road and Bridge Standards and Network Inventory. You want to start with that?
B.
Okay. What are we being asked to sign?
Just that we have an inventory of roads and bridges and that we are up to date with all of that stuff.
Okay. And the actual mileage is reflecting on the second page of the next document.
That's the
Okay.
second one. So we're
Gotcha.
doing. So we need to do these separately. So I move that we approve the certificate of compliance for town roads, bridges and network inventory.
Motion's been made to approve the road and bridge standards and network inventory. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded. Discussion. Did the highway committee look this over? Don't you do this?
We
every
don't
year?
usually know. This is prepared by the road commissioner.
Okay. All right. If there's no discussion, all in favor of adopting, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. And we all get to sign. What is today? Is today the 10th? 11th. Oh. Okay, next is the annual financial plan for town highways. And I think this is the one where we have to swear that we're spending at least $300 for every mile of class 1, 2, and 3 town highways.
Covered.
Can you explain what that's about? I don't.
I have no, it's,
Just trying to make sure we have enough skin in the game.
I
for
think
what
so,
they're
yeah.
giving us.
$300 is that's the benchmark.
I think we're pretty well over it.
Got that covered
Yeah.
a couple times over.
All right, is there a motion?
So
Motion to approve, second?
Second.
And seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of adopting the certification that we spend at least $300 a mile? Please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Okay. All right,
Onward and upward. Winter events, we've had many. The contractors are up to 36 calls right now, so we're, yep. But I'm gonna say probably by the end of the week, we'll be at that magic 40. Cause we got some stuff coming tomorrow night into Thursday, and then sounds like Saturday, Sunday is gonna be a blockbuster, so. Cargill is out of treated salt. We are using white salt now. They don't have any in Colchester and they don't have any in Rutland. So we're using white. We've got some liquid, so we're gonna treat at the spinners. We're kind of okay there. We're a little over budget in salt.
really?
At current, we're about 58,000 over in salt. It's just, this year is just killing us.
ugh,
So, something we'll talk about with the highway committee at some point, but I got about $70,000 left got back from the state for class 2 paving. So I can use that to offset. I had a plan to use that for paving this spring, but kind of see how everything sugars off. And I've been working on the paving list for this upcoming season when there isn't any more snow. I got that almost done. The fire station is included in it. I'm looking at the development of Columbus, Susan, David, Deborah, that whole big development up there.
Yeah.
So there's obviously not enough money to do that whole development in a year, so it'd probably be like a 2-year project. And then for the class 2 paving grant, I'm gonna apply for Killington Avenue from basically Windmere to the Town Line Road, kind of tie that whole section together. And I'm gonna submit the structures grant for the Stratton Road culvert replacement. So we'll see how that all plays out. And we've spent time and money. No, you don't want to hear this, but sewer.
Oh, yeah.
So we went down there last Thursday again with the company out of Burlington. And we went in from the Days Inside and we managed to get the jetter through, sort of. Got it hung up coming back, but we got it out. So we got it opened up anyway. It's not flowing magically, but it's flowing, it's taking water. We did find, as we were cleaning it, the car wash discharged. And we got 3 or 4 cans. Kurt isn't here. Kurt had pictures. My phone died, so I couldn't get the pictures, but there's like 3 or 4 cans and a grade steak, chunk of grade steak and a couple chew cans and some stuff. So a lot of our problem that we've had down there with, not necessarily with the whole problem, but some of the debris that we've been finding over the months have been coming from the car wash. I went there Friday and talked to them. I talked to the manager and he said that they have grates on everything. There's no way that anything can get into the system. And I'd had a conversation a couple weeks ago with a truck operator from A1. So I called him and asked him, and he said, yeah, they just put the grates on not too long ago. Okay. So I ordered a wire basket to put inside. It slides inside the invert for the manhole right at their driveway. And as soon as that comes in, that'll go in, and any debris that comes in from this point forward will be trapped inside that manhole and it won't get into the downstream system.
Okay.
It doesn't fix where we are now, but it fixes the future, sort of.
So this manhole is right at the car wash?
Yes, it's in
Okay.
Diamond Run's
Okay.
road that goes up to the mall, but it's just outside their driveway.
Okay.
When that plugs,
When that
well, at
plugs,
least you'll be able to catch where the cans are coming.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And we've had that discussion for the past 4 or 5 months,
Yes, we have.
where the cans coming from, and those cans are getting, and bottles have gotten lodged in the deteriorated pipe.
Yep.
And the fact that you guys are able to either push something out of the way or break something.
I think we just pushed something kind of to the side. Like I said, they got through and then they got kind of hung up coming back through it. And then we tried to go back in again and he hit it again and kind of plugged it up, because that was the time when they were discharging and the manhole kind of filled up, and we kept trying to jet it. And we finally got it to go and the water went down and we pulled it out and said, the water's flowing, we're out. So
So was there a meeting with the state? or-
Yeah.
So
that's committee, that's
Okay.
my turn.
you.
Yeah,
So-
this is highway committee meeting.
Right, so, David asked for this meeting and we asked, Robert Clark to attend, and, Chris Taft from the V-Trans, because he's gonna be the guy we're dealing with. And the long and short of this is we've got to figure a plan to replace that pipe. The state says that they want you to try to directionally bore that 3 times and fail before they're going to do something. And even Chris kind of shook his head at that because they understand the situation there. The biggest obstacle really isn't digging Route 7. It's the depth of the pipe. This pipe is down anywhere from 12 to 13 feet. It's going to be a huge excavation. They will require it to be sleeved, which means we have to put in an 18 or 20-inch sleeve, put the pipe through. But in the future, we'll be able to change stuff. So Kurt couldn't make the meeting, but he had sent me a text and said, you know, and he'd asked me to talk about putting this at the top of the list. And so I don't know if I overstepped my bounds or not, but Dave and I discussed it. We discussed it, the whole thing. And we asked Robert and Otter Creek Engineering to get right on this. I'm guessing the board would approve this, but they were supposed to go down yesterday. They had talked about and start the survey process. They will be submitting letters to the state highway regarding what we want to do, what they're going to require to do that. Open cutting Route 7 is from all of the things we talked about, is going to be the most reliable and the most effective way of remedying the problem. One of the things that has happened over the years down there, that in previous, there was some thought that that pipe went from 6 to 4 to 6.
Yeah.
But what in actuality is it's 6 all the way across. And the cast iron pipe has deteriorated and it's smaller. But one of the things that's out there with cast iron, and I've talked to several people that have been in this kind of work, the grease deteriorates the cast iron. It actually, there's some acidity and some reaction. So all those years that Denny's and Ponderosa Ground Round were dumping, and that grease was going through there and plugging that, and probably where those plugs were is right about where that problem is. It actually eats that pipe up. So because the pipe has deteriorated to this point, they have a way of bursting that pipe and putting something through and making it bigger, but the pipe has to have integrity.
Oh.
And the integrity is gone. So that's not going to work. So we're trying to work with coming up with the best solution to do this. It would probably be a 3-phase, it would be done all at once, but it'd be 3 sections. It's approximately 200 feet, manhole to manhole. So the imperfection of concern is almost dead center in the northbound lane. So they would have to dig, probably start at the manhole, dig about at least to that point, 70, 80 feet, figure a way to reroute the 4 lanes of traffic, install the sleeve, install new pipe, and leave a section open to hitch to the other pipe. Then fill that back in, compact it, move traffic to that side, dig a middle section. Cop John Drive is going to be closed. This is not anything. This is like a nightmare, and you couldn't dream up anything much.
Well, but they've done similar things.
They're going,
Close-
I mean, I think
close
I think
around, so-
eventually they're going to have to
Yeah.
allow us to open cut this. I don't, Robert and Chris were talking back and forth, and they're pretty much in agreement that trying to directional bore at that depth requires a crater of probably 30 by 50 feet dug on the downhill side, right? Because they do it uphill. So that means you got to have this huge crater down there somewhere, like Top John Drive and Aspen Dental and all that, to be able to, because they put the pipe in 20-foot lengths. So you have to have some way to push those in, weld the next one to it and push it, and it's in it to get the pitch and get the grade. It's just going to be so. So he's going to try to really make a case for us, Robert is, and they're going to get some work done. One of the suggestions is, and we probably can get the state to allow us to do this, is to put some kind of a holding tank, septic tank, either, I think it's before that manhole, right? That's
Could
what we're
be just
talking.
outside that manhole.
Somewhere outside the manhole, put something in the ground, dig a hole, bury a concrete tank, so it'll act as storage, and we can stop the discharge
Gotcha.
to the surface. Because,
But they discharge a lot.
right, but it's not, It's not all at once. They have up to 8,000 gallons a day.
Uh-huh.
So if they're doing it, and the way the system works, the way Dave explained it, it's a series of tanks. There's no pumping. So as the tanks fill and they settle out, when it gets down to the last one and it's up, then that runs out. And,
Okay,
Basically, because they recycle their water.
yeah,
So it goes into a tank and then it settles out and it goes into a tank and it settles out. And then when they get really busy, the last tank has an overflow. So it just fills up, it overflows and just drains out.
right.
when
but
they're-
I mean,
when
I'm
they're
just
really-
looking at the minutes. It says approximately 600 gallons per hour when they're very busy.
Right.
That's a lot.
Well, that's an estimate. I mean,
Yeah,
Bill went and did some research and they're using, their average is 6,000 gallons a day. So they're open 10 hours. So we just did the math
Just came
backwards.
up with
It's
that,
a
yeah.
total estimate.
So if, if we were to put in a couple of 1,000 gallon storage tank, I mean, there's gonna be an expense here.
yeah.
This will buy us some time. And our biggest concern is, the town doesn't want to get slammed for doing some environmental damage because of this. So we put that in, that would technically hold about 3 hours worth of discharge. Which would allow, as long as we can stop the debris, which Dave's, the basket will do. This tank will also probably help us some way to maybe sort some stuff that might get through it.
Sure.
I'm not sure. And that will allow the accumulation and then it can kind of keep up with it. That it's, and this is stuff that Robert's gonna work on, how
Okay,
we can do this.
so
but we
this
have
is
to-
like temporary until.
Right, this will be a temporary, this is a Band-Aid on a severed leg. It's the only way I can explain it because we're trying to get through this and, hopefully, we've kind of known about it, but it hasn't got to this state. So this will help us get through that. We can develop a plan. I have no idea. I don't think you do. I don't think anybody does on a timeline. This would want to be a summer project.
Yeah.
I'm figuring probably a month to dig across there, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be between, moving traffic around and I mean, it's so deep.
Yeah.
That's really the big problem is it's just so ridiculously deep.
If it was a normal sewer line, probably buried 4 or 5, 6 feet would be no, I mean, when they just took those 45s out,
Mhm.
we could have stacked 3 of Sharon's in there and
Yeah.
not been being able to see. I mean, yep, they had a
Thank you,
huge crater.
Joy. I do appreciate.
They had a huge crater there, Sharon. You just wouldn't believe how far down they had to go to find that thing. And those are so low, and then Route 7 is built up so high, so that,
Is there, I don't know, I'm speaking from ignorance here, can we do a less deep pipe and just abandon the old one?
not in, I
No,
don't
because
think,
you gotta get the effluent to it.
right.
You can't come in up here if it's coming in here.
It's all down, it's all.
Yeah,
All
it's
down,
all-
it's,
all-
all the inverts come right in together in the
Alright.
One of
bottom.
the things we
bottom of the manhole.
discussed that. So one of the things Robert said, he said, if we were putting a water line across
Yeah.
Route 7, that was you could bore across through there, water's under pressure, it's no big deal. A gravity system,
Mm.
this has to have a particular pitch. It's usually somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 inch per foot in order to get everything to flow. So they have to get over there, survey, figure out. So I think we figured out about 15 inches to work with
About that, yeah.
across that road. So I brought up the idea, well, what if we bored across and put a pumping station where the manhole is? And he said that realistically, a pumping station would be more expensive, the yearly maintenance, than if you open cut it. Open cutting is the least expensive. It is the most invasive, because we're really gonna make a heck of a mess here. But that's really, but he said a pumping, you could put like maybe a 4-inch
Mhm.
force main across, 3 or 4-inch force main would handle all of that. But you're talking a couple of pumps, you're talking a big pumping station, and he said he's seen these projects run 300,000-400,000 just for a pumping station. And that doesn't even.
That's just
count-
for the station.
Yeah, and that doesn't count the boring across.
So speaking of money, what's it gonna cost? I know we have money in our,
Pick a number.
Pick a number.
well, I want a number below what we have in our water sewer fund.
That's probably doable.
Wow, I don't wanna
With a-
drain
With a
our
capital
water
P
sewer
on
fund.
probably.
Well, I mean, this 200 feet is going to be like almost one of the worst case scenarios and one of the most expensive things we're going to have to do. And there's just no easy fix to it. I mean, we've talked to people, engineers, we've talked to everybody, you know, and nobody can seem to come up with any idea of how to make this work. Unless something develops sooner than that. I mean, Robert seems to be right on this. He really seems to know this is what they do. So they're like our go-between with the state. They're gonna take care, I think, the permitting, the letter of intent, what we're trying to do. The state will allow us to do some stuff without actually, but I think he said without actually being officially permitted. It's like, because we're,
Right.
you know, they'll let us get going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So we're, you know, I think this is the biggest thing we
I
got.
know, like when we did the straight pipe over at the Aspen Dental manhole, I had to do a permit for the state. I sent it in, they're like, we understand what you're doing, go ahead, it might not be approved, but it's coming, just do
Mhm.
your thing, don't wait for us, so they're kind of forgiving in that way. I think trying to convince them to let us open
Well,
cut
we're
Route 7 is gonna
Trying to
be,
control a greater environmental damage.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so,
I mean, realistically, this needs to be done July, August of this year.
yep.
And whether or not we can get it done that fast, we really can't go through another winter.
no.
And we haven't even got, like Dave said, you get the first 45-degree day, 40-degree day.
Oh.
That car wash, he thought it was busy the other day, and the guy said, when it's busy, he said they're circling the parking lot, you know, waiting. It's 3 lanes, 2 lanes?
Three lanes, yeah.
3 lanes, and it's just unbelievable. So, you know, we're trying to get ahead of it.
And it was busy that day and it was like 26 degrees. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
So what do we need to do, if anything, tonight?
Cross your fingers and pray.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm hoping that the rest of you are okay with us asking Robert to get started right on this.
I don't think we have a choice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know, that was.
yeah. Why don't we do that?
Gotta do.
Motion.
Well, what exactly did you tell him to do?
We told him to come up with plans to, try to mitigate the problem, what we can do. And to communicate with the state for permits and permission.
Okay,
So this is
I would
engineering.
move to ratify that request to Robert Clark to do that work.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to ratify the Robert Clark work order. Discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. All
We
right,
didn't hear anything from them yet. They did, because
No.
he thought they would be able to start yesterday.
Yeah, I was down there a couple of times yesterday just to check and, you know, see if it was surcharging or whatever. I didn't see anybody down there, but
So if it,
wasn't there all day.
you know, if we could stop the bottles, it won't, or the debris, chances are water and effluent will flow through there.
Right.
Like you said, that's all you can do. You know,
That's all my good news for the night.
okay.
Oh, yay.
Yep,
Question about the
Question.
bad news.
we did talk a little bit about the striping out here
okay.
and stuff and
And Matt's got a question for you too.
Just on the salt situation, which sounds dire.
Hmm.
I mean, how much stockpile do you have now? And do you dare hazard a guess at how long it might last?
We have probably right around 200 tons. They brought us 150 or 160 yesterday.
Oh.
And I got I had a small pile, so I definitely got enough to get through what we've got coming this week. I made a gesture to Cargill or Barrett, who's the trucking company, that we've got liquid, so if they get treated salt in, they can disperse it to the other towns and we'll just keep going with the white. And they were extremely appreciative, so I'm pretty sure they were talking about getting maybe, I think they said 6 or 7 rail cars of treated in this week. So I think that if they get those in and they can keep everybody else happy, I think we can get what we want. I'm not worried about that.
Well, I guess my question is really, how much more expenditure might we be in for Quarry? I mean, obviously you don't know how much it's gonna snow.
What is March gonna be like? How many 2-foot storms do we get in March?
So we
you have to
just
go down
signed
and
a,
talk to the woodchuck.
Like how much
signed a
do you, how
20,000.
much do you use every time you go out and do it?
Yeah.
Somewhere between 40 and 50 tons, probably. Depending on what it is. I mean, these little dustings, you use almost as much as you do for a foot, because on a foot, you just
Keep plowing.
you just
Wow.
plow and you do the steep hills and the intersections and then salt everything at the end. And with these little pesky little dustings, you're doing everything over and over and over again because it's every day. I mean, was it 2 weeks ago? We were out every day for 10 days or something. It's just
You just have to do it every time. I mean, you put it down.
I'm
on
happy
one
not.
day.
You tell me not, please.
Well, no, I'm not saying. Make
Come on with it.
I'm not saying make it unsafe. My question is, you put down salt day one, I mean, it's not all gonna run off the road in one day.
You get a
right?
little bit of residual, but not a lot. You do get a little bit, and that generally helps you in the beginning. When it first starts to snow, you'll see that it's snowing and it's
Yeah.
collecting on the sidewalks or on the lawns, but it's not really doing anything in the street.
Mhm.
That's just residual, and then it breaks down and dilutes. It's salt brine. It dilutes down, and once that dilutes down, then you're back in the game. And if it's, a little quick, something comes through town fast, then maybe we win this one, but we haven't had any of those.
And I do believe there's rain and freezing rain, and is that the next one? Is that what
Yeah.
they're predicting for
Yeah.
Thursday night and
Thursday went.
And then the
Thursday morning.
weekend is a nor'easter.
we haven't had winter in several years.
That's
And now
right.
we're getting it all, we're getting our collection all this year.
Yep.
This is why it's so difficult to plan a budget. You do,
Well,
you
do
make the
what you
best
can.
effort and then you go for what Mother Nature gives us.
So nothing more, anything more from Highway Committee, or have we covered what was?
We've
on
covered
the-
it. We did talk a little bit about the Green Mountain Plaza intersection.
Yeah,
And we do need to get the traffic study to the state and, we'll just kind of move forward with
Okay.
that. He did ask me why we wanted to do this and I told him it was to improve traffic flow out of the Green Mountain Plaza.
okay,
And because of the backed up lines and stuff. And he said that's, so,
okay,
and that's our kind of thing where we're looking to do.
okay, very good.
Great.
All right, I
Good.
think thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
You guys have a
Thanks,
good night.
Dave.
You too. All right, next, Ed Dumas, Town Police Chief. Good
Good
evening.
Probably shouldn't have sat down so quick, but
Oh,
you go, Holly.
Thanks.
I just liked, we moved in on Saturday, the new building.
Mhm.
I'd like to thank all the members of Rutland Town PD, their wives
Something.
and children,
Oh, wait a minute.
for all their help for moving.
Great.
It was awesome.
Thank you all
Uh,
very much.
yeah.
Here.
Thank the town folks for supporting us and the new building. It's amazing. Sometimes I feel like a BB in a 55-gallon barrel. I'm not complaining at all. Thank the Selectboard and for all your support. I'll let Joe, thanks for helping out, and the JP for what he's done. I guess the only other thing about we just started wrong with the building this point. Now we got two doors that won't shut on their own. That's it so far. So.
They won't
Door
shut,
closers?
shut, or?
Yeah, the door, between our first bay and the fire department, if you don't yank on it, it'll stay open. And the outside door on the west side towards the Staples Barracks, that one, you gotta yank on that one. That
Okay.
doorknob feels pretty loose too. So
Mm.
those are the only two things we can.
So one of the things Gary said is as you move in, you and the fire department,
Yeah,
make a list.
okay.
Yes.
That way, when we need to, they'll come back and they'll remedy whatever's on the list.
Okay.
So that's what, instead of coming back for each individual.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So-
Joey, I had a question because I brought some stuff over the other day for the police station and I called Lynette ahead of time,
Hmm.
but there's no bell to ring to get her attention. If you know,
There is that. We don't have I
Gotta
guess
have some way of either an intercom, you press a buzzer, you say who it
a
is,
doorbell.
like the school has.
Yeah, something.
yeah,
Yeah.
even a bell would.
Even
Yeah.
a doorbell probably. wouldn't.
Oh, we were, yeah, I was out there visiting with Lynette and Kurt and I said, you could, there's an outlet right there. And that to be like, you could plug in one of those battery operated doorbell things. and might
Yeah,
have
we
been
could.
Yeah,
We can, these are some little things that got
Yes.
overlooked in the process, so we'll
Right.
have to, that may, it's gonna be on us. The fact that we have, one of the fire department members works for the electrician. So, Chris can work with them and JJ to
Yeah,
get some of the.
I would be back because we keep we don't miss things, but I don't want to miss things. But as you find things, funnel them all to Joe because
Make a
he's
list.
really, make a list.
Make a list, we get a list of stuff
Even
together.
if you think you've listed it before, get it to him.
And
Great suggestion. That,
figure it out,
get it to Joe. So,
did they rectify it needed an exit sign from the Sally Port into that other bay, they had to put an exit sign over the door, I don't know if they got that done yet.
Oh, I haven't paid attention.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that's one of the things that was missing and that all of the rest of the exit signs are hardwired, but for a couple that were missed, I figured just you can put battery ones in there so that
Yeah,
they're.
Joey, the other thing is, there's nothing to identify police station over there on the side. There's no sign or anything. Not that you don't want company, but
well,
I mean, if
it's
somebody,
got to be, I mean, public safety and they just see the fire department.
right,
Right.
There's got to be some way that
something that
they
they
know it's
identify
also
the police
police.
That will probably
Yeah.
need to add to.
Yeah.
But again, these are things.
They pop
There,
up.
there's
Yep.
a few glitches in there, and I was
Yep.
gonna talk, if Chris is on, whether they're working on their antennas. That, they needed to get, those should have been installed prior to moving. I don't know what the glitch was with CVC and how come they're not there. Another thing that's on us on the fire department side is, the building committee did not specify to have the same door lock setup as we have here at the town office in Center Rutland. So the locks there's 3 locks there that are not compatible with the 4 others we have. I don't know how that got slipped by. I remember talking about it as a group here one night and I thought for sure Ed was here. And I don't know how they missed that. That was not specified. So the locks that are there requires each individual code to be programmed in manually. They're not
Okay.
computerized. So at some point, that's got to be rectified.
All right.
So we get to, and I'm hoping, Royals does our work. I'm hoping that they will be able to put the same style door locks without us requiring to get new doors. Because sometimes you can't, once the doors are
Mhm.
done for drilled and cut and for a particular lock set, you may not be able to put the other ones in. Because right now, the way things are done, the town has a program.
Mhm.
So Bill can just, he usually does that. The computer, you just open the panel, plug it in, pretty much just change stuff. So have you got through everybody?
Oh, no,
No, You're just slowly working at it or?
it's a bit of a process, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing that those, and I do remember talking about, I just don't know how it got missed. Those locks that we have here monitor the comings and goings
Mhm.
of each individual's code. So if you have a problem and somebody's been in the building, you know who's been there and their timestamp. So it's kind of important that we get those retrofitted at some point, but.
Right.
While we're on the subject, you did a walkthrough.
I've been through it, yep.
Okay, and we have a punch list.
There were a few items that were listed, one of the papers that, I don't know, it's on our desk or something that the state.
Fire
there's-
safety.
Okay, very
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I did see
Fire
those.
safety, so
That seemed
basically,
like
that's-
that's for their purposes,
right,
but that doesn't necessarily cover everything.
right, this is
but-
what, the things we're working
Yeah.
on now, the doors that, Ed's talking about. Some of the other little items, anything that VMS has put in that was as per specifications in the design
Mhm.
that aren't right, then
Right.
those are the things we need to, the stuff that we want to add, like the doorbell system or changing these locks, those are on us. So there's some stuff, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the kitchen.
Mhm.
Gary pointed out that the cabinets weren't the same, so they didn't put handles and stuff because somehow or other, when the cabinets were ordered, some of them don't have the same design as the other ones. So they've got the right ones. There's fillers, at the ends and stuff. All of that stuff is just waiting on arrival and VMS will install it.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
so is this stuff here all on VMS or? some of this on-
I had that list and I'm not, I
or you want this
don't
one?
know where it is. in my stack.
Here you go.
Was in the packet. Okay, all right, let me find it. Gotta be here. Yeah,
Let's work your way down.
Which one are you talking?
I remember seeing it. Anyway, so, yeah, I believe this temporary sprinkler, that was because
3A.
that the sprinkler
Right.
company couldn't get the right
It's
pump.
not on us.
The sprinkler missing stickers, those were on, those have been done, right? Yep, so that stuff, a lot of this stuff, the 911 address, you know, was
We
it
gotta
two
put a number on the
72?
building. We gotta do it fast because we're on everybody else.
Yeah.
So,
Make sure you measure it right, Bill.
yeah,
So it puts,
correct, just the numbers are missing.
yeah, the numbers weren't, they weren't put on. The ADA parking spaces, 1 per 25. Because the driveway, the building hasn't final paving done, that hasn't been designated. So that, I don't know how you would do that prior to,
well.
Yeah.
I noticed that occupancy's been granted. but
Right,
These are things we
um,
do have to deal with.
they were working on the carbon monoxide. So during the testing, what they don't want is if, the fire alarm goes off in there and the carbon monoxide detectors go off, the building goes into a ventilation procedure, which exhausts the carbon monoxide. And you don't want those running when the fire alarm's going off, because there's a fire in there, you don't want to be introducing more air. So they worked on that and got that taken care of. The insurance company has to do the boiler inspection like they always do. So, and then, the fire extinguishers are all brand new,
Yeah.
but they weren't inspected yet. So it's like,
Jeez, okay.
a lot of this stuff is
Yeah,
just,
right.
I don't, just picky, nothing, the one pull station that wasn't in the middle bay, that work bay for the PD. I don't know how that got, if it wasn't in the plan, it didn't get on there, but there's one in the Sally port that doesn't need to be there. So they're gonna just put a plastic cover so it can't be
What's the
tampered
pole station?
for the fire alarm.
Oh,
One of
okay.
them, yeah. So
All right.
those, and then, we talked about the 2 exit signs.
Mhm.
One has to be in the, Sally port to the maintenance bay, and then from the maintenance bay outside. So whether we put up, I'm not sure if they were in the plans, but how those, but that's basically all they came up with, which isn't bad for,
That's just,
that's what the state did.
right.
So those are the deficiencies, and I
Okay.
believe these are, most of this is on, VMS.
The other thing that we see is, for NCIC regs, we have to cover our windows with shades. So people can't look in the windows and look at our computers.
So I have a
Ted,
suggestion.
what's that?
Go down to the Center Rutland Fire Station and look at the shades and the windows in the meeting room and see if that's something you like.
Okay.
Those are open and closable.
Okay.
And
I
they're,
wanna
and
ruin
they
that
can be,
nice view you got.
What's that?
I want to ruin that nice view you have.
We just need to,
Not
we gotta-
you, actually, your office probably doesn't have one at all.
Yeah.
when you sit down, I see the sky and some mountains. It looks pretty good. Anyways,
but
yeah, we got to ask them some shades of people that did these here. We talked to Bill about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't
somebody
know.
wanted one in the middle so it could go this way, but the price is outrageous. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, the ones we got here they don't go from the top down. And I think that's what Ted got quoted. So I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, that was.
Yeah, I went in the middle and you could go like this. So you could leave the top open and yeah, we're not doing that. And the,
you could also just, I mean, it looks weird, but mount them halfway and just,
Put them in upside down.
could do that.
But I don't, the ones at the center station in the meeting room, those work pretty good, that style. And they're, closable so they can darken the room.
The other thing is, the front door, every door has a key you can punch in to get in from the outside. From where you walk into the front of the station where Lynn's office is, there's this great bulletproof door resistant. There's a spot for a keypad there, but in the plans, they never put it in the thing. So I know we talked to the guy who goes, yeah, we got all wired up for one.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think we had a quote on it. I think it was, I don't think we need all this, but it's like $1,900. We'll just wait on that too. But I think it has everything in it. So it's like $1,400 just for a keypad to open that door. So
Talk
Right now
about
we
the
have to use
outside door from the parking lot.
from the
or-
parking lot, that door there to get into the vestibule has a keypad. From the vestibule into the PD, you have to have a key. Or you have to go around, if you don't have the key, you have to run around the fire department and the back way that way, that's all.
So was the key, was a keypad specified, do you know, or not?
I don't know.
Okay, so
So you need to check
that's
that. yeah.
one of the things to put on, we need on that list to
Okay.
talk to VMS for.
Bill, when you're doing the minutes, I know I did this to you once before. Everything that's mentioned, please specify, because it might be the only way that if we repeat it in a note here and then a comment here and in the minutes, we should be getting everything.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yep.
you very much. All right.
The other thing is, Ted got a hold of,
Oh,
Community Bank on the cruiser.
Yep.
The finance of that, but apparently they have another section of the bank that does the underwriting for towns, and he wanted the interest rate for tonight, and they said there's no way they
okay.
can get it. And Kari was supposed to do the other one, but Kari's been out, she's
Yeah.
out sick, so we didn't bother her at this point.
Okay. All right.
We did get in
You
touch-
guys were in more of a hurry than we were. So I know you want to get the thing ordered. So
Well, it's not that, it's
Right.
just that they have it there, so
Yes.
Ted checked with McGovern's, and the car's still there, it's still earmarked for us. So hopefully the next 2 weeks we can come up
Okay.
with some numbers, and you guys can make a decision
Alright.
next time. Go from there.
Any way we could put a down payment on it to hold it?
It's up to you folks.
well, it depends if they will hold it and if they would take a down payment to hold it further. If they make any noises about that,
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
ask Ted and,
yeah,
you have an amount you guys want, or ask them what they want?
ask them.
I mean,
Awesome.
some kind of a down payment to hold. I mean, there is some money in the depreciation that could
Right.
make a down payment, and then we can either reimburse the depreciation once we borrow the value of the vehicle, like we're planning. That way we won't lose it, because
You want to give me a number that can authorize me to hold
What's the total?
70.
70,
20,000, 20%. Usually you'd think they'd hold it for
Cheap.
21 day.
I'm cheap.
That's 14 grand.
No,
Well,
5.
5? Alright. We'll make an offer, see what they want.
Okay,
I mean, I think they know we're pretty interested.
yeah,
Yeah.
But hopefully they understand some of
that we're
the.
serious, it's gonna happen.
Yes.
Okay,
So if you offer them a down payment, that might make sure they know we're interested.
okay,
We're serious about it.
we'll do that. That's all I have on that. Okay, then I guess we can move on to stats.
Okay.
I'll do the south end stats first.
Mhm. Hmm.
So things have gone down compared to last year. A little lower than December, a little higher than November. We've had a new batch of people come into town that seem to be a hassle down at the Green Mountain Plaza, just different folks. We haven't seen them before, trying to ID them. We've got 2 of them ID'd now. There's a few more that we just don't know who they are. They leave and they go towards the Quality Inn, generally, we just found a gentleman yesterday who stole from Dick's, and we saw him stand in front of Quality Inn and tried to pass all his goods off to his girlfriend, but we got them back. Now we know who they are. And gave him an invitation to go to court if he decides to go or not. So we'll see what happens there. Other than that, any questions on these sets here?
What's out there for people camping outside?
I know there's a few on the end of Ranbury Road. I know we got a few down behind the hotel itself. They're not, I know both of those people there, and I haven't been down there in a couple weeks, to be honest with you, so. But they seem to be managing okay.
Okay.
I know the state police they got somebody on a warrant on the dead end section of Ranbury this week. So they had a warm place to stay for at least a couple of nights.
Okay.
So they went to court. And I know there's another gentleman moved from one of the hotels into the property across from, I think it's from Ace Hardware.
Oh,
Moved into town property.
yes.
I know that person, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Number two call type you have categorized here as suspicious. Are those falling into any particular,
We're talking this one here.
is that, is there something in particular that is suspicious or
It-
they all over the
yeah,
place?
Yeah, it could be anything, you know.
Is-
For instance, today a gentleman approached a lady at the Green Mountain Plaza that we'd never seen before. Think he's got some mental health issues, wants way too friendly with the ladies, makes him very nervous. Actually, our first customer came to the station today. So she made the complaint, was concerned about her vehicle and gave us a heads up on this gentleman bothering her. Things like that. Are suspicious. Usually concerns of the people. It's odd behavior or whatever.
Okay, anything else from the chief?
I don't think I've probably forgotten something, but
All right. Anything else for the chief? Any questions?
Do you like my grinders?
yeah, the fair and partial policing
Yeah.
policy, did you guys? take a look at
Okay.
that?
That
This is the
was,
state one.
Yeah.
And we haven't received the comment from our visitor from the.
actually, I'm
Just-
having coffee with her tomorrow, so we'll see what progress
I'm
she
not
has
interested in
made.
switching to the Burlington Police Department.
Yeah,
so
no, they're
fair and police.
in a different, they're chartered, so, yeah.
So Burlington has a lot of problems up there. They have their fair and partial police policy. We have ours down here and we're not Burlington. I could say so much more, but I won't.
Oh, that's
Fine.
probably just as well.
I mean, as far as the commenter goes, some specifics would be helpful if there's a particular thing that she thinks, I mean, I don't know if she was even familiar with that this existed, so.
Well, this does say it's for internal use only and does not enlarge an employee's civil liability in any way. I mean, that. Did we adopt it or did you folks somehow just,
We were mandated by the state to either make up our own or adopt a state.
Selected once it is found.
okay,
So we were mandated by the state. Our legislature has mandated that instead of passing the laws, they have allowed us to do policies. Policies can be changed a lot quicker than laws. So therefore, we have these policies that the state is given to law enforcement throughout the state that we have to follow. Either we follow their policy. We can probably be more strict, but we can't be less strict than their policies.
but the select board didn't adopt this. Did we?
No, you did not.
Yeah,
Doesn't, let's put it this way. I didn't have a choice. I have to adopt it.
I'm curious to know, well, okay, here it is. This is backside. The fair and impartial policing policy was approved by the Vermont Criminal Justice Training Council, April 23rd, 2024. And then there's a,
Our PD,
is subject to it.
right,
Right.
Okay,
I don't think we get a choice. I don't think they
apparently
get a choice.
not.
I
Yeah,
do not get a
no.
choice.
So,
If you're gonna have a police department, you're gonna be, this is what you go by,
Yes,
minimum. If you
Mhm.
wanna go more than this,
like Burlington, yes.
You can. but this is the minimum standard.
and
And
so you basically you just put Rutland Town Police Department wherever something else was,
Correct.
okay.
this is one of those cases, Mary, where we looked for something we needed and we found something that fit already done.
Oh, yeah,
And we didn't have to
yeah.
do that. And
yeah.
this meets the requirements of the Vermont Council on Criminal Justice.
Yeah.
Correct.
I'm
Training
debating whether we should stick it in our policy book, but note that it was not adopted by the select board.
I don't know how that works.
I don't either. I have
They
no clue.
mandate-
Yeah,
So maybe that's a Kevin question. Maybe the
might be a
board,
Kevin
maybe,
question.
maybe the board should
I can do that
adopt this policy.
or not.
There's some
or
That's
whatever.
concerns that,
Kevin's
there's some
question.
concern that this policy goes against federal law, so that's a concern of the police officer. That's just one concern. If I don't comply, then I can get decertified, lead my men the wrong way, so
All
I'm
right,
like handcuffed and we do what the state wants.
Or the board ratifies it and conjunction with it.
Well, let
See
me
what
ask,
Kevin has to
it's
say.
a Kevin question.
And maybe we don't
Ask
have to
him.
do anything.
Yeah,
I mean, well,
We're gonna be hearing about this again.
I'm sure we will.
Due to some of the provisions that are in here, I'm pretty sure. So I suggest we all read it.
Okay.
Know what's in it.
Have you adopted the other ones they have also
What are the ones talking about?
on the?
Use
Council?
use of force, yes.
Okay.
Use of force used to be like 9 pages, now it's like 30.
I think they had like 7 different ones on there.
So,
Ones that are mandated, we've adopted.
Okay.
I wonder if we should like, at least for our police committee, have a,
yeah,
maybe nice to have a binder of those ones that are mandated. So we can
I
look at
can
them.
add the specific ones they have to only your binders if you'd like.
well,
Oh,
let's start with pulling them all together and we'll have a meeting of the police committee, which we need to do anyway.
Yep.
And then in the meantime, we'll ask Kevin. Is any part of our police department funded with any federal grants that might be in jeopardy? My guess is no. Yeah, okay.
We had the SRO, yes, or if we want to say we want to get another officer on the street,
Yeah,
then that would be,
okay. All right, but we're not
I
there.
think Vermont might have a hard time getting one at this point in time.
Oh,
that's how we started with the school resource
Yeah,
officer.
that's right.
Was with a grant.
it was
Right.
a large grant and then it
And then it
decreased.
trickled down, and then
Yeah.
once the grant was gone,
We had to have
we absorbed the cost between us and the school.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Who applied for that grant? Did the school apply?
Teddy applied for that.
Type, so Teddy
Okay.
applied for that. I had a person talking to me today, wanted to know why we have a school resource officer.
Mhm.
And my honest answer was that in this day and age, I can't imagine not with what's going on, but
When we didn't have one, I got several phone calls. When are we getting one?
Yes, yeah.
I just didn't know, is there anything that mandates a community to have a school to have one, or are we just being proactive?
We're being proactive,
Okay.
protecting probably our most treasured assets.
I mean, having an individual in that building should make most people think twice.
Yeah.
I think there is a certain level of fear that goes. with
That police car out front,
Well,
Huh?
that helps too.
that
Yeah.
certainly helps with
Yep.
the police car out front.
But I mean, I'm just saying, it was kind of an interesting question as to why we do, and
The
and to
gentleman
me,
who
it's
was-
like a no-brainer. It's like, I couldn't come up with a good answer other than it's in this day and age of what's going on, I think a town would be foolish not to have somebody in a building.
the gentleman who was gonna shoot up the school over in Fairhaven
Mhm.
was more concerned about the officer on duty there because he knew that was gonna be a problem, that officer. That's why he didn't quite dare to do it, because that gentleman was in that building. So,
The deterrent we'll never know about. Okay, anything else for Ed? Thank you very much.
thank you.
Okay, now Mike Rose, not available. Larry is not.
Good.
Uh, Marcia Chioffi, Town Head Lister. And we had something in here for Marcia and is Marcia on?
I'm here.
There she
Hi,
is.
Marcia.
Hi, good evening. Let me see what's going on. Kathy and I finished stuffing envelopes today, 234 of them for our business personal property, and we'll take those out to the post office tomorrow. So that's done. We did get a slightly marked up proposal that we sent to Christy for her to look over for the reappraisal purposes. Nothing major. So we'll be getting on that to send out to the proposals to different assessing firms. And I do have a list of potential young people that are actually what they call junior assessors that are in training at the moment. I can get that. I'll give Bill a copy so that you can look it over. They are from all over the state and also from New Hampshire as well.
Okay.
So other than that, same old, same old.
We have a couple of forms here that I've not seen us have to deal with before. This is the PVR 317, which is Vermont property tax, public pious or charitable exemption. And apparently we're supposed to fill it out and apply.
No.
Okay.
The pious, the churches and so forth. I've sent all those out for this year. They have to send them back to us.
No, Marcia, this is the one you gave me for the public safety building.
That's what, Bill? I didn't hear you.
It's what you gave me for the public safety building?
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yes, because the public safety building is tax exempt. We did put a value on it, but I think we're just waiting to get something from VLCT so that we can put that in the file, compare, the evaluation they come up with what we've got.
So what do you want us to do with this form?
Well, I'll have to look it over again. I gave that to Bill quite a while ago, but yeah, it's just to certify that the public safety building is tax exempt.
Well, if there's places to fill in describe our organization's mission, stuff like that. So why don't we do this? Why don't we hold it over until next meeting?
Yeah.
And maybe Bill can get together with you and you'll get input from League of Cities and Towns.
Sure.
I'd not seen anything like this before. And I know, for example, we have a town highway garage and we have, the cold storage building.
Right.
So I'm wondering why we're looking at this form for me the first time.
But for one thing, the state is clamping down even more. I mean, now we're mandated to send out buyer and seller certification letters, and it's been great. The turnaround time for both buyers and sellers has been great. We've got quite a few being returned as the PTTRs come in.
Okay.
So there are other things that are happening. Our VT Pie is becoming a huge headache. The migration between Nimerick and VT Pie is not working like it should be. And we were told we had a homestead refresher course on Monday. And we were told at that time that we will not even be getting current use until probably mid to late March. And we've got the Thomas property that has e-filed to withdraw the 50.47 acres of land on 7 North. And Krista called me, but I said, it's out of my hands. There's nothing I can do about it.
To withdraw from current use?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So actually there were two forms. The other is the insurance replacement cost of tax exempt property reporting form. So why don't we hold on both of those and we'll take a look at them at the next meeting.
Yep.
Okay. Marcia. There's our E911 address, 272 McKinley Avenue.
It didn't change.
No, still.
It's just that we didn't put it on the building.
Well, we ought to and set a good example. Yeah. Okay. Any questions for Marcia?
No.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're
Appreciate it,
welcome.
Marcia.
All righty, thanks.
All right. Next, Chris Clerk.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Chris.
Kind of what Ed said. We've been moving into the new fire station the last week. Got all the trucks in there. Everything's in there. We're just trying to find a home for everything and hanging stuff up, but we're making progress. I did call Gary the other day. One of my members was in there and said he thought their roof was leaking, which Gary did come and look. I haven't heard back from him yet, but I'm assuming since I haven't, it's probably nothing. That's it about the station, really. It's wonderful so far, so no complaints.
Thanks. Well, you probably heard us talking to Ed. As you find things, including the, roof leak question, pass them on to Joey, and mention them at meetings, and we're gonna just start trying to capture all of these things as best we can in minutes, and also with Joey, so we double check. As you find things, let Joey know, or bring it up at the select board meeting, or both. So we have a decent punch list.
Yep, we will do that. We're starting to make our list. Dell and I were there today, and got a couple small things, but nothing major so far. But we'll let Joe know.
Good. Thank you very much. And thanks to the fire department for all of their move-in work. We appreciate it. I drove by Saturday morning on my way to the transfer station, and it was really nice to see the trucks in there.
Hey,
Very nice.
It's great. Not that Dave's garage wasn't, but it's home. So I did take care of paying the McGovern for our fire pickup. They came last Monday and put the new rack on, so that's all squared away.
Good.
I think that's all I really got.
Okay. Questions, Joe?
Yeah. So Chris, who is coordinating with CVC to get your communications up and running? Are you handling that, or Larry?
No. Last time I talked to Gary, and this was probably a week ago, actually, I asked him if the antennas were up there, and he said nope. They were supposed to be ordered like the sprinkler pump when the station first got approved, and nobody ordered them. So CVC is waiting I guess somebody finally did, but they're not in yet. So from what Gary told me, the conduit is run down the hose tower on our side,
Right,
and the pipes just stick into the police side, and that's it. So whoever's finishing that work is going to have to run pipe and wires through the ceilings over on the police side, from what I've been told. But they were supposed to be put up there months and months ago, but I guess they didn't get purchased.
Okay. All right. So somebody is on top. I just didn't know if you wanted me to do that, but if you guys are on top of that, then I won't get in the middle of it.
I know they're ordered. They just haven't come in yet, but
okay.
They should have.
I know there was talk
time ago.
Yeah, there was talk about this way back in actually before the ceiling tiles and stuff were up, because when I talked with Gary, he said he's concerned about a lot of stuff is going to have to be taken down so they can run cables and then put back up, and they were worried about damage to ceiling tiles and stuff, and they were hoping that stuff would have all been done prior to the finish work. So we'll just have, because they did have a man lift there, which would make installing those antennas. So I guess that's going to be up to CVC. I'm not a big fan of them putting ladders on the roof to access the tower. So we'll have to get on top of that. Yeah. We'll need to be, they'll need to be aware of that. And once they come in here, there may be access to a man lift if they guess they need it. They might be able to rent it. I know that Magic Brush Painting has a man lift, and, VMS had rented it, so, just something to be aware of, okay?
Yep. All right.
And, as you do develop a list of things, you can kind of coordinate with Ted and Ed, your lists and have them, and then we can present those to VMS for stuff that, that are shortcomings or something that's missed in what was supposed to be in the building. The things we missed, those are on us.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
No, there's only
Okay.
one thing I can think of that we missed, but you already know about it. So.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Any questions for the fire chief? Nope. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you. And Kari is homesick, so she's probably
Yeah.
not talk tonight. So
Yeah, tell her to feel better soon.
I will. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, Mike Delehanty, first constable. John Paul Faignant, health officer, second constable. Nope. Barbara Noyes Pulling is not, because she had another meeting. Joe DiNardo, public safety building clerk. We've been covering stuff.
Yeah, I
all
don't think I
along.
have any more. I'll just
Okay.
keep on top of the lists and what they're doing, and, we'll try to get everything square. I'm not real familiar how this tail end process works, but
Yeah.
we'll get through it.
Okay.
I do know there were some submissions from Ed Clark, but I haven't seen them yet for the substantial completion payments.
Okay.
And that stuff was forwarded, I think, to Kari. She has copies of
Okay.
everything. So I know VMS is going to want their final payment and whatever. So I think that we still need to talk to them regarding the delays in getting in
Mhm,
and whether that has a monetary value to us.
mhm.
Same as the delays that were caused at the beginning of construction that had a monetary value to them that we paid.
Right.
I do know that this whole sprinkler glitch from the wrong pump or not the right
Mhm.
pump. I've talked to those guys from VMS and they're as dumbfounded as that. It's not like they're reinventing what needed to be there and why this is such a problem.
Mhm.
And the fact that the controls for the sprinkler pump are not the right controls that were specified in the electrical drawings.
So that's between VMS and their.
I do
sub.
believe that's between VMS and their subs, and we should not pay out any total amount. I mean, if they need a part of the retainage, maybe okay, but we need to have
We
some
need the
leverage
retainage.
because,
Yeah.
I talked with the electrical engineer and the wiring and everything was designed that the transfer switch for that pump was supposed to be in the electrical controls. And the controls they put in, now one of the problems, and Sean from VMS is working on this with them. One of the issues that has come up is that I guess the right controls may or may not fit in the area allotted. So they may have to work in, they kind of messed up here.
Yeah,
And I don't know, and I would say this is all on the sub.
I agree. Or it's on VMS.
Well, it's on
and the
VMS
sub. Yep.
and they're gonna have to work it out with the subs, but to have that eliminated and not be part of it, the electrician, he said they ran the wires there and then there was nothing to hook them to. So everything's in place except for the controls. So I haven't heard anything from Sean. He hasn't got back to me, so
Okay.
I'm hoping that by the time they get the right sprinkler pump, that we'll have this other portion taken care of and we can move forward.
Well, thank you very much.
Yep.
Bill Sweet, Town Administrator.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right.
Oh, before Ed leaves, we do have a liquor license and I know Kari is the one who usually presents, so let me move with that. This is for 99 Restaurants of Vermont LLC. This is an outside consumption permit, a third-class restaurant bar license, and a first-class restaurant bar license. And I'm looking at the chief, no problems. Is there a motion?
Move to
So
approve.
move.
Motion's made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? I will note that the chief of police indicates there's no problem with them. All in favor of issuing the 3 licenses to 99, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries 4-0, and we all get to sign this. Okay. There's one thing on my list. We got a bunch of others still.
We do have some things left, yes.
Okay.
Not too bad, but we do have some few things left. In your packet, part 2 is follow-up from the last meeting where for our code of ethics. So there is a draft, there was a model policy that emerged, and
Oh, sorry.
that what you have there is the policy updated to be town specific for us. So I gave you a copy of what it looks like for us, and then a copy of what the original model was, but it's just basically inserting appropriate titles and names in the various places. So it outlines what we do, how we handle it, who does what. It's pretty straightforward. This goes along with the code of ethics training.
Okay.
So we need to identify and get everybody in on that. So that does say here who qualifies as a municipal officer. And it's a pretty comprehensive list. So
Yeah, the one thing it didn't have, but we had in the last packet, was the actual statute on it, which defines some of the words that they use in these 2 things. So the whole thing should be put together.
So on our website, we do have a copy of the statute on the website. But the statute, if you'd like, can certainly go along on the back of the policy.
It has to,
Yep.
yeah.
This is essentially Paris, the statute does not. I mean, this is basically almost verbatim what the statute says we have to do.
So there was, they had provided a model policy, which I gave you there, and I just filled it in for where it says like name municipality, I filled it in. So nothing changed other than what we've already decided on. So.
For example, they don't define what a conflict of interest is except in the statute. Which seemed to be an omission.
Okay.
So what's your pleasure here, folks? We've got a policy, we've got an ordinance, and we've got the statute.
Covers there what we need to do.
So they have it listed as an ordinance, and they said it can be called an ordinance, it can be called a policy, like it kind of depends upon the what the municipality wanted to do.
So if we do a policy, we can adopt it right now,
Yes.
just us, and we can change it more readily if things come up. And it's what we've done with a number of things. If we do it as an ordinance, then we have to go through the ordinance process, which is a little more extensive. Posting it and seeing if anybody comments on it within 30 days, I think. And so little different how.
Because this
Yeah.
only affects the town's employees and the town thing, I would go with a policy rather than an ordinance. I think this governs us. This is the policy that we're going to abide by as board members, clerk, treasurer, highway crew, police officers. They all have a stake in it.
I would agree. Anyone want to go the other route?
So, yeah,
Yep.
I mean, my understanding on this was basically the state said, here's the law that everybody needs to follow.
Yep.
I noticed at the end of this policy, and well, and to Mary's point, I'm not sure, because I'm skimming back through this again, I'm not even sure it talks about conflicts, because I think you just have to refer to the statute for what problems are, and this is just telling people how we're gonna deal with them when they're reported, right?
Yes.
But then I notice at the end, it says other laws. This policy is in addition to other policy than this municipality and all applicable laws of the state of Vermont, but that this was, I don't know. I guess this is just the complaint procedure probably wasn't
Hmm.
specified in the policy, so, I mean, in the statute, so. I don't know, it looked fine to me. At some point, you also give us a form. I don't know what I did with that, but I thought that looked fine as well.
So there is a complaint form and I have it largely drafted, but if you made any changes to this, it may have changed that form. So if we're good with this, there is a copy in the green folder with real dates on it. For everybody to sign. So, if you're good with this as being a policy and you want to adopt it, then I will finalize the actual form itself.
I move to adopt this Town of Rutland Code of Ethics Investigation Enforcement Policy.
Yeah, good.
Motion's made and seconded to adopt.
Couldn't find anything.
Who did we make as a municipal, the enforcement officer? Did we designate you last?
I'm the representative,
Right, okay.
basically, yes. And then if there is a complaint,
You're the designated complaint recipient?
that's me.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
great.
lucky
Or
you.
select board chair if you're the
Correct.
person complained against.
Correct.
All right. Gotcha. So motion's been made and seconded to adopt. Are you going to do a version or shall we just circulate this tonight and you can take the signature page?
Did you did you get that from the green folder?
Oh, geez, bro.
The green folder copy.
The green folder.
Green folder has one that has real dates in it.
Yeah, I have too many. I've got the ones with,
If you want to sign the back, if you just find one, you want to sign the back page and
Here
just
we go.
fill in the dates, yeah, but there was one.
all right, number 6.
It's 2 on mine.
Okay,
Oh.
so all in favor of adopting the policy, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
You'll add this to our binders.
It'll be added to everybody's binders.
And
Yes, it
please
will.
add the
Statute
statute with
along the
it.
back page. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the ethics training, it's not hard. I mean.
No, it's not.
kinda
We
watch
both did
it.
it and we got through it.
We got through it. So it's pretty good. So we should schedule some time for people to do that. We can do it in here if we want to do that. And I'll work with everybody on the list to get them all up to speed and take care.
So when we go to do that, there's some thing we have to fill out.
So when
say
you-
we did it.
When you reach the end, there's a test
We'll do it.
and you will not pass the screen if you don't pass the test.
Right.
And then once you do that, then it gives you a spot to fill in your information and it emails you the certificate of completion or emails you basically the page that says you've completed it. So
Now
that's the proof that we passed it.
that's not the open meeting law, which is a different one.
That's a
This
different
is the
thing.
ethics.
This is the ethics one,
Okay.
right?
At
So
that point, the state has it, or do we have to then send
What-
that thing somewhere?
What I did was I sent it to Bill because there's a place that says, who do you want this sent to? So I sent it to Bill to show that we'd completed
and
it.
I save a copy of that. So I have
Right.
a folder that we'll keep those in. So we have record of that. So that's no problem. So I will work with all the people affected by this to make sure we all get there. The open meeting law video is very good. About 45 minutes and it's not quite as extensive as a list of people that have to be on it, but it talks about the open meeting law, what the requirements are, and there are some things that I came across that we probably need to do better on, but
we can make you the resident authority on this also. right?
outstanding.
So the thing that I think I've always struggled with is this, the definition of
I guess is the definition of municipal body
Mhm.
and whether our committees count.
Yeah.
Which
Yes.
I think, well, and then there's two different concepts, I guess, that we need, should not get confused, which one being the more recent rules on public access, but if we have a committee of two people that don't have decision-making authority, we're still governed because we're a subcommittee.
So there's advisory bodies and non-advisory bodies.
I know, but then
Yeah.
that's this
Yeah.
So
separate issue, really.
we have historically always warned every committee meeting with the same level of access in case a third board member shows up and the three wants to decide we're taking action on this. It can be, it's a properly warned meeting and action can be taken. So if we don't warn the meeting and three show up, you can't do anything. So is that what you mean?
Something, you're in violation of the right.
Well, I mean, I guess the
Right.
issue
Right.
that we have to keep in mind is that if a two-person committee is subject to the rule, then two people can't discuss committee business unless you're in a warned committee.
But you don't have a quorum, so you can discuss town business.
Well, that's the thing that's unclear to me. If you're a two-person subcommittee,
Mhm.
is that a quorum? Isn't that just a
I
quorum?
think in a short 45-minute video, you can learn a lot about what we need to
I
do.
watched the 37-minute video. You shouldn't oversell it because that may deter people from watching it. That
So
was
I've
8
always
minutes.
had
but
that thought, Matt.
Yeah.
Two of us.
It wasn't clear to me
So
when I
the
watched the
committees
video.
are two people. So realistically, those two board members cannot take any action.
Correct.
Right.
And I've always thought that the procedure we go through might be overkill, but in the long run, because it's not a big deal to warn the meetings,
Right.
make it known. And what it does is it does protect the town, because
Yes.
if there's an issue on police or fire or recreation, and one of us that's not wants to come in and put our 2 cents in, realistically, we have three people who could make a motion and vote on something, even, I do believe.
Yes. At a
And,
committee
and
meeting.
so if it had to be, so I think we're protecting the town by doing it the way we're doing it. So
I do
it's a little
too.
bit, I always was, my years in the fire department. At one time, we had, I think, 4 or 5, at one point, there was at least 3 and maybe 4 board members that were fire. And on a monthly meeting night, those 4 members were all in the same room,
Yeah.
the same together, and that's not a warrant. Now, it wasn't a town meeting, but the 4 of them could actually conduct town business.
Well,
If
But-
it was,
but-
if
but-
it was a warned meeting, they
Well,
could.
the
or they would be,
statute
just
says
so
they
it
can-
it
the
was always like
statutes
being on pins and needles when
changed
everybody was
tad
there
bit.
together, because,
Like, we can go to each other's funerals, right?
Yes.
right.
And we
That's
don't,
one less in the quorum.
and we're not triggering anything.
No, but it gives an
Or if
impression
that
of
were the votes,
impropriety
that
when you
really
have
would-
4
Yes.
board members together at a function, in a meeting, people that are skeptical of the credibility of your board or whatever,
Yes,
they
right.
could raise a stink about stuff. Well, I saw those 2 or 3 of them over there standing in a corner. What were they talking about,
Telling dirty jokes.
more
So
than likely.
I'm not sure either, Matt, but I'm okay with us just warning every committee meeting and
Well, I think we
generating
should. The
minutes.
question, they
Yeah.
didn't, but they don't in the video answer the other
No.
flip side of that coin, which is 2 selectmen walk into a bar. They happen to be on the same committee,
There's no, so if there's no prohibition about board members being at social events, social
Right.
functions like Rotary, for example, like there's no prohibition against that because it's not intended for town business. So if Joe and Sharon show up, it's like you 4 can be in the same room. You can't talk about town business. That's the only prohibition. That's.
I mean, I do believe you warned one of the functions at the fire station, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Because most of us were gonna be there,
yes.
and that can be
There's-
perceived as a board meeting.
There's no consequence to putting out a warning. Like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's
There's a
just
lot more consequence
to
to
not doing it. I mean,
That's right.
Right.
it's
And
it's a few
darn
more
well, if we're
steps.
all in the
So
same
we're-
building.
Well, we're letting people know what we're
Yeah,
doing.
like
you know,
that's.
And the minutes also let people know what we're
Right.
doing. And it's frankly a blueprint for what the select board needs to work on.
Yep.
We just go down through the minutes. It's
There's
usually-
no way you
we're
can
fine.
have 2 or 3 board members in the same room
Mhm.
and not talk about town business.
It's really
It's,
hard.
it's never gonna happen because this is what you're doing. And something that,
Did
you
we
know,
talk about anything at the public service building? Because you
I'm
and
not
I
Talking
and
about a
Kurt.
town building.
I didn't,
we talked about the building.
Yeah,
yeah.
So to
well,
have
you're
that,
right.
to have that warned
Yeah,
covers the town's
right.
responsibility that, you know, and that, once it's warned, actually, that's kind of makes it open to the public.
It does.
If
yeah.
they want to come and,
So and that's the other part of it too. Once you warn the meeting, then there
It's
are
open to the
things that are
public.
triggered by that. Yeah, there are other requirements.
but,
So
but it's always, to be more cautious is always better.
and I'm good with all of that. So watch the video. As a fellow select board member from Ira, I think, said he watched it weeks ago and he said, you know what, it basically told me that we were doing things pretty well. So I think you'll get the same flavor when you watch it.
I mean, when I watched it, I wasn't like, oh, like there wasn't that,
Yeah.
there's no issue. So
Yeah.
like, really, I think,
We're good.
yeah, I think for,
All right, what's next?
what's next? Next in your packet, under the 3 for the public safety building
Ah, yes.
is the builder's risk policy cancellation request.
Okay,
The league has acknowledged we are in the building and that our coverage with them has started. We are still paying the building under construction insurance policy.
Mhm.
So the sooner we cancel that, the sooner we stop.
Is
okay.
there anything in the contract we signed with VMS that relates to when we terminate that? Does anybody know?
The only thing, when
We
this
ran
did-
it by Kevin.
Kevin,
I know that we had to have it,
yes,
but is there anything in there that talks about canceling it?
I don't know. Kevin's only comment was to ensure that the effective date of cancellation lined up with the effective date of coverage, so there was no gap, and there's no gap.
Because there is some work to be done yet,
Mhm.
but it's mostly external work.
But well, the league has now assumed coverage for the building.
Right, but I'm just thinking the parking lot and stuff. But I guess if any damage is done if Fabian's gonna do the finished work, then they would be, I think that this insurance was to cover a loss of the building.
Mhm.
Yes.
More than anything.
Mhm.
So we're good. Okay.
If Fabian's backs into a door, then Fabian's replacing the door. Like that's,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so cancellation, we did run this by town council, cancellation request policy release. It looks like complete signature section below.
It's in the middle.
Yeah, looks like there's space for 2,
Uh,
3, 4. Hey,
well, there's.
we could all sign, couldn't we?
Good, yes.
We
There's
could.
witnesses, there's signatures and witnesses.
I think we should all sign if
Yes,
we're
that makes
so
sense.
inclined.
I guess that makes sense. You wouldn't wanna.
Okay,
Authorize, so what's the
is there a
difference?
motion?
Oh.
Is there a motion
Motion to sign? I'll move to sign.
to,
Yeah.
do the
Do
cancellation
the
request?
cancellation.
That's okay. Second, motion's made and seconded, discussion.
So it says signature of named insured.
That's us.
That's us, an authorized signature, not applicable. So who's
Is
the authorized? signature?
One of those sections to the left of that. If you were a lien holder, mortgagee, lost payee, like,
Okay.
that's none of us.
I'm printing for Town of Rutland, okay?
Perfect.
And then there's signature of named insureds.
I think that
2
we
of
need to
those-
authorize Mary to sign.
No, I
it.
think we can all sign it.
But where?
What-
There's 4 lines. just
There's
two-
1, 2, 3,
two
4 lines
witnesses.
on the right-hand side.
Okay.
Okay, and then Chief Dumas can sign as a witness and Bill can sign as a
Sure.
witness. Okay, how's that?
Uh,
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
While you were signing that, the league, VLCT has sent out, their 2025 safety grant is now available. We have done a large number of projects with this grant. It is up to $6,000 award, so it's 50% match, so we can spend 12 to get 6 back. So it's open to all the departments and all sorts of stuff is on the list like before.
What was it we were asking that wasn't on the list we were gonna try to get?
There was
Door
a
locks?
Door knock.
door locks aren't on the list.
This is the one that doesn't do the crosswalk.
This one does not do the crosswalk. It does do the flammable big yellow cabinet that we do not
have
Huh.
at the building yet. That's one that's supposed to be vented outside. Oh, I don't know. So the
So-
red one we got isn't the right,
The red one we got is, so there's different colors for different things. The red one's for like paints and things like that, and the yellow one's supposed to be for flammable liquids.
okay.
So that was in there, but if I recall, the conversation that Gary had with Dell, that Dell told me, was that they didn't put a vent in because they didn't know where the cabinet was going. So that's still, I believe, a pending project.
Okay.
So if that yellow cabinet gets put in, there's supposed to be a vent to go outside.
Any idea where that would go?
No.
Would there be room in the compressor room? I don't know how big the SCBA compressor is.
Oh,
I would, well, Dell had a quote on one, but I don't know.
Only reason I say that, it's on an outside wall
It is,
and it could be
but
vented.
the small, the utility compressor is in there,
Right.
in the best corner for that to go in, so that's not gonna go anywhere.
Right.
The other wall, you can't put it on because it's got an access panel for controls for the heated floor. It can't go on that wall.
So we could get the cabinet.
That is one of the things that qualifies under the grant.
And-
Whether we want to use that for that, that's fine.
Well, if it's something we want in the building and we were planning on, then we should apply for the grant. And would the fire department would apply for the grant, right? Or would it be as a town?
It would.
Either or, it doesn't matter. And then we'll have to figure out the best suitable location. To be right, it should be on an outside wall.
It would probably be most effective on outside wall, but I don't know much more about it than that. Like, I don't know, are we supposed to have one that has a fan, or is it supposed to have a fan attached to the vent? Like, I don't know. So that'd be a excellent question to ask Dell. So he would probably be,
Challenge him with that project.
yep, that's a great thing for him to take
Then
on.
he'll come and talk. to us.
All right, and let's
I mean,
see,
if we need it, we might as well get a grant for it.
we can try. And last thing on your desk, while I was finding the ethics policy, it also referenced one that we don't have, which I put on your desk, which is a public records inspection, copying and transmission policy. Yep.
there's
So
4 parts to it.
there are a few parts to it. Yep.
Okay.
So this one does have some sections you would need to make some decisions on, and those are highlighted farther into it. And then I did give the VLCT guidance on it. And then there's 2 forms that go along with this. One is the public requesting a copy of a record, and the other is if there is a reason for denial, there's a specific form we have to have. So those are all drafts. I wouldn't expect you'd want to take action on this tonight since you're just seeing it for the very first time, but
Was there a pay schedule on that? Per page?
there is a section in there about having to pay for copies. So I believe this would actually your police reports would fall underneath this as well. So it standardizes across the board. So if people need police report, a fire report, anything like that, like it would all.
These are different public records than how we can access online, right?
Yes.
This is for things like police and fire reports.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So it does go over here in the purpose and what it applies to. It does
Some more reading.
more reading, yeah. So
As soon as you get done the personnel policy, you can read this.
Yeah, that's next. Personnel policies next.
I did notice in that ethics policy we just did, it references your personnel policy. I was thinking, oh, we got one now.
Almost.
So this unfortunately is much larger than the ethics one, which is, but it would be helpful to have that, so that way that, if,
So if you could stick this on the agenda for,
And we can take these home and read them.
yes, we can.
absolutely.
The next meeting should be the personnel policy. Then the meeting after, unless you want to do 2 of these, this doesn't look too bad.
It's not complicated. There's some, I did highlight some sections that
Yeah,
you need to decide on
all right.
that, and it really wasn't
Well, let's put this on the next
No problem.
agenda to them.
Problem.
Okay, good.
And let's see, I think that's everything I have. So the police are 99.5% out of the room next door, so that we can talk to the building committee about what they'd like to do. And I think that's
There are about 4 different groups who have their eye on that building, so, or that room.
but there are.
5?
There's a personnel committee in office I mean.
I didn't realize there was.
Town administrator get first dibs on it?
No, there's no such thing as first dibs. That's kind of up to the building committee to find out who wants to do what and then solicit ideas and figure out what comes next. So, and then make a recommendation to the board with a price tag.
Shouldn't be,
Zero.
well, might be a
Zero would be
little,
a good price.
Yeah.
there's a few things.
Well, probably gonna need a new carpet.
Carpet.
Yeah,
would
carpet
be
might
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be after the safe is gone.
Yes,
Oh, that's not out of there yet?
not yet, but soon.
Those look pretty grubby pick up.
It's
Yeah. You guys,
Doesn't
you
it
guys
require,
are
Ed,
tough
doesn't it
on
require
things,
moving the
yeah.
door to get it out?
Yeah.
nope,
No,
it's out.
just a
Huh?
strong back,
What's that?
just a strong back.
Okay.
It's in the middle of the floor. So hopefully the floor can hold it because it's in the middle of the floor now.
You could put down some plywood to disperse the load if you put it on a dolly. Yeah, huh?
Yeah.
Put it on a dolly, put some 1/2-inch plywood or something down to disperse
They
it
got,
as you go.
they got a plan.
Yeah, you got a plan?
Yeah.
Open the window.
They
throw
do.
it.
Yeah, open the window. Well, I don't, the old windows maybe, but not the new ones.
So I'm handing you the mailbox damage
Oh,
email that I received, so I don't forget.
all right.
Okay,
Um,
anything
That is
else?
everything I have.
Okay,
and the policy is in here, right?
policies number 2.
It is.
All right, so that'll go
Okay.
home with me.
So we have gone through the Mendon Select Board request, and we're moving forward with that with Joe as our point person. We have submitted the local hazard mitigation plan for approval from the state
Approval pending adoption.
pending adoption. We have reviewed the draft code of ethics investigation and enforcement policy and taken care of that. We've received a public safety building update. We've approved the town roads and bridge standards and town highway annual financial plan, saying we spend more than $300 a mile. Are there any new items?
Hey, Josh has made it this long. We should appoint him to one of our vacant jobs.
We got some. What would you like?
Here to observe.
Okay.
Okay.
I still have not received any letters of interest for the planning commission
Hmm.
or the regional planning commission, board of commissioners, or our planning commissioner. So we haven't received anything yet.
Interest?
In?
Planning Commission, Regional Planning Commission?
We have the transportation council.
Coffee.
Pardon?
Call me and we'll have a coffee.
All right, all right.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is we obviously offer notary services here. We don't really have any published like set of guidelines or anything like that. Is there anything that we should do or want to do? Other than saying we offer it and we will follow the state guidelines, but it'd be, it's one of those things like we do it, but we don't really have a policy or a procedure for doing it.
I mean, I think you follow the state guidelines and there's statutory stuff on
Yeah.
it. Matt and I are not good people to call on because we're exempt from, as attorneys. we
Yeah,
have to do it.
we just renewed ours.
Yeah,
Um,
well, I renewed mine, but
Yeah.
the guidelines, we don't have to abide by. Isn't that
Yeah, I mean,
terrible?
I think what it comes down to, if you or Kari are doing it, then that's professional practice, basically. You gotta
Mhm.
follow.
so there have been some issues lately with people going to banks and other places that are saying they're sovereign citizens. We haven't had any issues here yet, and they are refusing to provide any identification
Mhm.
and
But they want things notarized.
but they want things notarized. And when they are being denied, it's becoming an issue.
If you're
So
a sovereign citizen, why would you acknowledge the validity of the notarization anyways?
excellent question.
Well, when the next one comes, you can ask them and see how it goes.
I'll refer
Makes
to
your
their
heads
office.
around when you ask.
So
Yeah.
wouldn't it be in our best interest to have
Take
a
down Matt's
policy
number.
to if you deny somebody doing it.
As a notary, you can deny it, like you can just,
Yeah, if they don't
And you
have the
don't-
necessary documentation to allow you to verify their identity, you can deny.
and I had 5 people today come in to get something notarized. That's more than I usually do in a month, but you know,
Must have been a
that
deadline for something.
it's just all sorts of random stuff.
Yeah.
I met her today. She's a wonderful lady. She didn't get something notarized. So, but we do all sorts of stuff, and you know what it is doesn't really have any material impact. It's just the signature itself, but it's something that's been coming up in other places. Like we haven't had any issues here with it at all, but it's one of those. It's just probably a matter of time before if they keep getting denied other places, is it an inevitability? So, you know, I was thinking of like if we just post a notice like the service available, however, you know, we must meet, you know,
Yeah, I mean.
those
you
rules, so-
Have to.
whether,
Yeah.
but did we, I don't know if we wanted to, I did look and I couldn't find anybody that had like an actual policy on it, but
It's state statute.
yeah, state
You just-
statute, so
you
it's
just Follow
pretty-
what your
pretty limited.
training tells
Yep.
you to, and if they don't meet the requirements, you don't notarize.
okay,
Yeah.
so we'll
Notary service.
we'll put up a notice
But we
available in
don't
accordance with state
have
statutes.
to, we don't have to make it available.
correct.
Yeah. So
It is a convenience, not a requirement.
that's right.
Yes.
Okay, that was a new item, no other new items, all right. Update on committee meetings and select board project list. There it is, we're making progress. And we heard the public safety building is the biggie, and we're almost there. We get to soon cross it off. We had the highway committee meeting. And I don't have anything for executive session. Anybody have anything for executive session? All right, is there a motion?
Well,
Do you know what for?
we all know it's the end of the, I move to adjourn.
Motion made to adjourn, second?
Second.
All in favor, please say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Thank you, folks.